It all comes down to the politics. Their goal is to have more people, not less. And how they go about that is a problem because when you start immigrating people from the countries outside of here, things are legal in other countries that aren't legal here, but those people may have already be accustomed to that. So they're trying to raise our kids based off the public school system to adapt to that. And now we have this mess. I,
Right.
it dawned on me when I found out that it was only 5% of the population. It was like, what the fuck?
So, okay.
Crazy. Well, half the money in the world's owned by our country. We
All
have
I
more
know is I
millionaires than
walked
most
in
countries in
halfway
the
into a
world.
political conversation.
Yeah. Well, that's what I asked her what it that she did in college, and I just had that random statement. It was only 5% of the world population lives in America.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Just waiting on you, Sly.
Alright. Yeah, and that 5%'s also vocally loud.
It is because we have the power to be that because we were given that just based off the Bill of Rights and the
Ha-
normal
I
raising.
I feel like I have to ask this
Rebellion.
since I have you both in here. How do you both feel about Trump breaking the Constitution?
I'm
Never
not
bothered me
taking
because I'm not a
politics.
partisan. It,
Okay.
I honestly don't even know what you're referring to.
He
I'm that far.
the 14th
He,
Amendment basically says that we're guaranteed birthright citizenship, and he stripped that.
Oh, really?
He got that
Huh?
passed, yeah. Birthright citizenship
Wait.
was abolished a few days
Oh,
ago.
oh, oh, oh. If you're not from this country and you're born of the parents inside the country, you're not a part of this country. That
Basically.
was what was changed. Yeah, yeah. So like people like The Rock, which he is a citizen, that the post facto law prevents him from going back beyond the present day. But yeah, he would have never been an American citizen because he was born in an airplane over the top of the country.
That's interesting. I didn't know
You didn't know
that.
that about The Rock?
No. Maybe that explains why he's so obsessed with himself and like so fucking psychotically full of himself. Bro was
I believe
born
he's
with a
more
lack of
South American
oxygen.
than
Holy
anything.
shit.
Yeah, yeah, he's a lot different. He's not like American American. I think he was born from a Muslim in South American, I believe. I'm not sure. I'd have to go look it up. I forget what he actually is.
I don't know. I just know I'm tired of seeing him play the same character in every movie
oh,
to include WWE.
Yeah.
by the way, I wanted to. By the way, I wanted to tell you guys I'm gonna try to start streaming a little bit more.
Really?
Yeah, I'm actually streaming right now.
Nice.
That's good to hear.
So,
Well, that's
yeah.
My mouth.
that's Crash 1.
Oh, you crashed?
Yep.
Ah, shit.
That's the issue with her PC.
It crashes randomly.
It crashes the game out. Um it only recently started doing that more. It was one of the recent updates that started making it do that.
I've seen things like that happening on my end too. Yeah, I didn't know. I knew about the law. I don't care about that law too much, personally.
I'm only paying attention to this shit so much because I made a
Because
prediction years ago that we're not going to enter World War III until America sees its second civil war. And at that time, Korea, Russia, and China will all team up against us and we will lose.
I think China would start actually seeking to get our land at a certain point, naturally speaking, and they already have the power to do so.
I
And
know
the
that I'm
copy of the
glad
first
China
patent
came to an
arms
agreement for the
weapons
trade war
science
to
somewhere
end.
around about 5 or 6 months ago. So, but as far as weapons go, not so much because they have manpower.
Oh, and I know you two wouldn't care about this, but apparently TikTok has a buyer
I wouldn't be surprising. Not these days.
after all this time.
Did you? I'm not gonna mention that. Never mind. I'll type it in a personal message instead. That
Okay.
way you can talk about it without it being weird.
Okay.
Apparently, someone decided to join my stream and be like, "Hey, you like your stream and all that?" He's like, "Drop your Discord name to get some advice." I'm like,
Those are scammers. Don't follow that.
I'm not. So,
Those are never real viewers.
so
I think it just crashed
yeah,
again.
I'm gonna restart my stream. So I'm gonna restart it. So
Oh, that would have went to your phone.
Yeah, it would
Shit.
have.
I'm going to block. First, I'm going.
Are you streaming on Twitch, Kick, or YouTube?
I was doing Twitch, but I gotta reset it.
Okay, I highly recommend, since you're just starting out, doing it on Kick. There's better payout options, and you'll get more money and be able to hit the goal to make money off of it faster. I didn't realize that until our friend, I don't know if you remember him, you probably do, because I've mentioned him a lot. Bobby Do Misty ran it by me, and ran by me the numbers for it. And I recently looked into Asmongold and Tectone's number differences from just this year.
The only reason I'm doing Twitch right now is I have a Twitch account.
Yeah, no, that's
I
fair.
don't have.
Are you streaming
I
on your
don't have a
laptop?
Twitch.
Like, are you using your laptop to do it?
I'm using my Xbox.
Okay, so if you're using your Xbox, keep using Twitch, and then just set up your laptop and have it stream your Twitch stream on a Kick.
Alright, well, I'll do it later. So,
And yeah, my game did in fact freeze.
there we go. There. I got the stream back up.
I actually don't know why it's doing it.
Oh.
Yeah, that all becomes complicated from my perspective, by the way. Because you could plan to have somebody born in America without actually being a part of this country intentionally these days, especially with the way flights and planning goes. So that could cause a lot of hazards.
Say again?
Well, being born in this country being a thing, people could plan it so that they had their births here just so that
It's
their
watching
children
me.
could live here and force
Hey.
it that way. That, it makes sense to get rid of that. It
Yay,
doesn't
Nova's
fit with
watching.
today's values and world anyway, because people target people like that to begin with, just so that they can feed off the system or get people into this country from other countries.
I don't understand why this is being such a pain in my
Don't
ass.
exactly fit American values, at least the past ones.
Oh, you know what? I know the issue.
You have to be born of people that are from this country first.
It's most likely this. My
They just
games,
updated
no
So,
PCSX2.
Well, hey, Army, I'm gonna promote you. I'm gonna go back to the party I was part of. I'll rejoin when you're ready, okay?
Alright.
Yep.
I shouldn't be too long. I'll let you know.
Well, if anything, just start the GM and I'll know to come back. That's why I'm promoting Army.
Alright.
So, be back.
You know what I'm doing? I'm deleting out space because it might be she doesn't have multiple drives in her PC like you did for me. She's only got her local disk, which is 465 gigabytes in size, and she has 6.54 gigabytes of free space. And I know that every
that's why
time
everything's fucked up.
Yes, that's the only thing that makes sense to why her PC is running this slow, other than if the
Yeah, I
cats
do.
ruined something. And I'm praying to God it's not that. But I think I've got it, and if I do, then we'll be good to go. Don't need a Steam setup anymore. She's got shit from years ago she don't need. Still downloaded on this thing. Double downloads and everything. Fucking, I need to teach her how to fucking manage a PC. I'm not that
Hey,
I'm not that great at
hey,
managing a
hey! I
PC,
made
but
that
shit,
comment
I'm
to
better than
myself
that.
today. Is like if I meet somebody, like I likely am not going to want to date somebody older that's more like my mom at, or even somebody in my age group asking me if an email is a scam or a spam or what is this? You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Basic stupid questions. Like after a while, that would start bothering me, depending on who the person is and how I deal with them, and whether they actually need the computer all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I met a gamer person that was dense like that, I'd probably lose it eventually. I don't know. I don't know how strong I am when it comes to patience and stuff. I say it. I'm patient with my mom because it's my mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Other people, it's just different.
I view things as I view so many things as easy that when I'm trying to explain it to somebody and I'm dumbing it down as simple as I can to the point where it's like so simplistic that
Yeah.
even the stupidest of
I
people
do
can
the same thing.
understand
I
it.
don't try to change how I word things because I talk simple. You know that.
Yeah.
Like I don't try to complicate my brain too much. In the past, I'm probably not so much true, but more so now.
Alright, let's see how much better the game runs now. If it's not much better, I have to delete some other stuff off of here.
You probably should have at least 40 gig free at all times.
I'm only at 26 at the moment.
Yeah. 10% was an old thumb rule for free space on the hard drive. The hard drive will fail faster if it's actually a disk drive.
It is the local disk.
Yeah, yeah, but is it solid state or is it
I have no clue. This thing's
moving
so
disk?
old. She had this thing built years ago before she even met me.
It's probably a moving disk then. If it's a moving disk, that hard drive will probably fail soon, or because every time I failed a hard drive is when I filled it up.
Well, hopefully not because we recently bought our externals.
Yeah. Well then,
So
yeah.
once I'm done getting everything figured out with everything, and I have this new external comes with some softwares. So I need to do some research on it and figure out everything so I know what I'm doing with it, and then I can give it to her and be sure we're good. Um, and then I'm gonna transfer her games over to it and make sure those games can actually run off of it.
Okay.
That's part of why I want to do the research. Like, example, if I plug Destiny 2 and put it onto her external, how well is that actually going to run
Not
for
very
her?
well because USB 3 is going to
Exactly.
be slow in comparison to being directly wired. But Destiny is old enough that it's not as big of a deal. Because I've run Destiny off external solid states before. Mm. Yeah, you talk about the future of the world and stuff like that. I see the world burning,
Me too.
and not due to man. I'm talking about natural disasters like volcanoes and solar
Oh,
flares.
I'm thinking we're gonna take it out, take everybody out.
No, I don't think that. I actually don't believe that ends up being that way. I think if man would have done that, that would have already happened.
Come on, Epic Games. I wish you wouldn't keep. I
Interesting.
really wish you wouldn't keep Epic Games on here just for fucking Fortnite.
Eh,
Like, I could literally have her sign
Epic
into.
Games is not very big, though.
No, but Fortnite is.
Yeah, Fortnite is big.
And, like, I only have permission to delete X amount.
She asked you if you're still having more difficulties. I'm not exactly sure how to respond.
I mean, tell her I'm not sure yet. I gotta finish clearing space.
Alright.
Which should be done in a moment because I'm gonna just delete First Descendant off of her fucking PC.
Makes sense. You stop playing it.
She stopped playing it, and I'm confident I can play it on my laptop, even
Yeah.
with one fan
Yeah,
in the
that's-
laptop working
That's
right.
designed to be used on lower quality hardware.
Yeah, so like, why am I gonna care? I can go into that game later on my laptop.
They don't have a Destiny Rising release date yet.
Oh yeah, no, they don't. The thing's still in
But-
development.
When I was playing it, I think most of it's done.
Honestly, it's
They had a few bugs that I noticed and pointed out to them, but
more promising than Destiny 2 right now.
you mean Destiny 3?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You need to call it Destiny 3 now, right?
Destiny 2 parentheses 3 close parentheses.
Yes, yes. You understand why I said that now, because they can't re-release the content that they took out and deleted unless they
Better
make the
yet,
story
better yet, Destiny
or
2
something that's
cubed.
original.
It's
Two.
it's Destiny 2 cubed.
I get that.
Not
Yeah,
even
you're right about
not
that.
even squared, cubed.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Uh,
It really is.
because when they deleted the Red War and Forsaken out
have you
and all
watched the
that,
trailer yet?
no, it's for
Alright, so
me.
instead of watching the trailer, I want you to listen to the trailer
You want me to listen to the trailer first?
before you watch it.
Alright, I'll tell you what, I'll do exactly that, and I'll do it on my laptop streaming with the camera on so you can see my reaction.
You're gonna know what I mean the moment you listen to it, and you're gonna be like, "I just don't feel right." That makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I had to laugh because I was listening to it at work and it hit me, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's a flashback from my past, but that shouldn't be a part of this." It kind of killed me. That's why my reaction at the end of it was basically, "Yeah, I don't really care. Just give me something to fucking do." So I just see the game as something to consume time in now. When I need to.
Verifying integrity of game files to verify that it's gonna
Okay.
work.
Oh, okay. That takes a little bit. At some point here, I probably should just get up and smoke and hope that you're done by the time I get back.
It's still crashing when I open, so
Oh,
I'm just
I got
trying
you.
to make sure.
it's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, the next step is on reinstall the game. And I know you ain't gonna do that in my time frame.
She's also not playing a good handful of the games she has installed, so now I'm just working on uninstalling them. Because
Yeah,
she doesn't need to have all these fucking things downloaded while not playing any of them.
Unless they're modded. If she modded games, I would
she-
be upset if you were uninstalling them.
There's no way she modded Stardew Valley and Slime Rancher 2.
You can, though.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying, though, because I know if somebody was sitting on my PC and started uninstalling shit, I'd be like, don't touch that.
I'd imagine that Vortex would have saved it for
I'm
her,
being
though.
thoughtful, by the way.
I know. But but she uses most of her mods through the Vortex client, so wouldn't that save it for her?
No, because if you do configurations like I do, there's a little bit more than just modding. It's like going in and changing your game files and your settings and
She doesn't do that.
tweaking games. Yeah, I do a lot of that, and if you touch my computer like that, I'd be sitting there, you're like, you just ruined 90% of my 3D games that are already configured to run on a 3D TV, and it don't work. You don't take the time to put stuff in it. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of time to do that.
She doesn't understand PC enough to do all that
Yeah,
like you do.
yeah. It's good to know that I'm being thoughtful. Shared thought. You understand what I meant.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, in the meantime, I probably should do that. I don't have Discord installed on my phone 24/7, by the way.
How long are we looking for this?
He hit verify integrity recently, and we're waiting on that, and I know that's going on.
33%. It's not much longer. It's over.
Alright. So,
It's
yeah,
only been
you
2
got
minutes
about
and it jumped
4 minutes, and
33%.
that's done. As long as it doesn't have to download the whole game.
Why? What are they
That's
asking
what
you to
we'll
do?
No, they
No.
were offering. They were offering to do like a prophecy farm real quick or something.
Yeah, I would say go right ahead and go do that.
So, well,
Yeah.
I already, you already made this time. I'm just trying to figure out time. Okay.
Yeah.
I would just hang out until I'm
go
done
ahead.
verifying integrity of game files,
Alright.
because then I've got to message you to get your attention, and that's a matter of when you either wipe or look at
Okay.
your Discord next.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
just hang out.
I'm sorry.
I'll
I just
just-
don't want you to be too overly preoccupied and not see my
I-
message. And an army.
I know.
Time.
I know.
I'm gonna send the messages inside this general chat.
This is entirely my fault. So, she can't hear me anymore. But maybe she's got my stream up. Hopefully, probably not though, since she's streaming herself. But what's it called? It should only. If this is entirely my fault. Worst comes to worst, we reconvene Thursday because I know you. I think we agreed not tomorrow.
I don't think I did.
I'll talk to Urza.
Oh, you
about it
did.
then.
You did. You did.
Because I'm pretty sure I was to be determined. I'll talk to Urza about it. I might not be available tomorrow night because I haven't told you about everything going on in my life, but I don't have a
Yeah,
job again.
I got that. Yeah. Okay. Gathered.
What's it called? And tomorrow night, tomorrow night's basically when or evening is probably when it's happening. Because that's the next time he's in the store. They have me. I work for that same hem shop I worked for, and basically, they have me staying home because I'm treating my cats for fleas and my home for fleas. And the way they're going about it is very sketchy, shady, and disrespectful.
Understood.
So my mom agrees. Liz is willing to let me do it. I'm basically walking in tomorrow to turn in my keys, look through the system real fast before I do so, and point out the fact that he stated the reason he brought me back is because I make twice as much as every employee he's ever brought in since they let me go. And I'm going to make sure to point out that all 3 days that we had consecutive $1,000 days were days I was either there for half the shift or the full shift by myself. So if they really wanted me for the money I was making, they wouldn't be treating me like this, and they'd at least be trying to do half of what I can do.
They're probably going based on a professional basis. They're forcing you to take care of your cats in the fact that you brought fleas into the store.
They don't have any.
That's the question.
So they have vinyl, right? Their rug had it, and their futon had it. The futon was already falling apart. It was already broken and a safety hazard, If I were to have let any customers or even any new associates sit on that futon, it would have been a lawsuit kind of broken.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And
normal behavior
they
for a
want me to
business
pay for
to
the
consider
futon.
your own legal circumstances because hazards are hazards. That's just the way that is.
They
That's
want me to
not them
pay for the
treating you
futon,
improperly. They want you to pay for the futon.
even though it was broken prior to me
Fuck.
getting hired. They want me to
For
pay
me,
for.
oh really?
They
That's
want me to
funny.
pay for the $100 rug that the
Yeah,
district manager they hired that doesn't even get a paycheck from them because he's choosing to work for free throughout the $100 rug instead of choosing to treat it.
yeah. Okay. That's a mixture of problems there. It
So
For me, I just look at it and laugh. For me, I'd be like, you want me to buy you a new futon? I'll bring it in tomorrow.
I
I
can't
wouldn't
afford
give a
that
fuck.
though.
You can't, and I see that. I see what you mean by that, and I'd probably be looking for a different job anyway at that point.
I've already been
And I would have.
I've
Yeah,
already been
I know
applying,
you.
and
I know
I've been
you have
applying to
been.
places since I got hired back because I knew it
Yeah,
wasn't going to last.
yeah.
I walked into it with the
Translocating
mentality of
is
it's just a
difficult
couple
for
extra
you because
bucks.
you don't have the ability just to have an estate manner or the ability to walk into a home and be like, oh, I'm homeless and I'll work here for a while until I can get afford my own place. That
Um,
is not a lifestyle you want to jump into with what you already have.
but we've basically got that
Yeah,
going on with
I,
work. We've
yeah,
got to treat the stuff for the cats.
yeah.
We have to. We're waiting on maintenance to come back and replace our bedroom door
Oh
because
God.
it was poorly made and broke. It was made by one boards with the backings of dressers used as the front panel and back panel,
So just opening and
stuffed
closing
with
it naturally broke it
cardboard.
every time. I've
Yes,
heard of shit like that, by the way. I've seen doors do that.
that's every door in my house except for the front door. The back door included is like that.
So
Um,
so the apartment portion of the house is actually rebuilt and remodeled with cheap supplies.
yes, exactly. So we've got that.
Yeah, I've
Our
heard of this
AC is
before
a
too.
tiny
I've
unit
seen it.
and sucks. So during all
Yeah.
this heat, we never see days below 70. And for
If I could
me,
ship you a fucking air conditioner, I would ship you a fucking air conditioner.
oh well, wait, this is just the tip of the iceberg. For me, my asthma has gotten worse ever since I was forced to get the COVID vaccine. So the heat
I
doesn't
believe
help.
that. That's factual.
Um,
You're not the only one with that problem.
what's it called? Uh, I've still got that PC
Yeah.
I've got to send you. I've got to be able to afford buying the
Yep.
part for it. My laptop has a broken fan in it out of two, so I have to be able to figure out fixing that, affording to replace it, or just getting or affording to get it repaired or buying a new one. Her car needs 4 rotors,
And
two
you're turning
tires.
28,
Yep,
right?
yep. Her car needs
Yep.
4 rotors, 2 tires, 4 brake pads, and an AC control unit box.
Yeah. So somewhere in there, I cursed myself for being your friend because the time that I had the worst time in my life was when I was 28. I didn't make it out of the clearing until 2012, so
I'll
I
be
was already
28 in
31 years
October,
old. Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
what I
going
was
through a
saying is like
midlife
I made the
crisis.
joke. Yeah, it's midlife crisis at 28. That's pretty normal from what I'm gathering. Yeah.
Plus, I haven't been playing Destiny because it hasn't been fun to me, and I'm angry at
Well, yeah,
Bungie.
and that just ruins the whole aspect to play a game that you don't enjoy. Trust me,
Yeah,
I've done it recently. Like I played Far Cry 4,
and now
and I stopped
I
playing it
explained
because I didn't
this.
enjoy it.
I explained this to Urza last night because I was reading her directly my messages of what I had said to Holland about it. So I'll do the same for you real fast.
I
He
don't need to know.
he was basically asking me if it crashed again.
Yep.
I can't do it tonight.
Yep.
Basically he had asked me if everything was good because I wasn't getting on. I had been AWOL for a while. Um, I said, yeah, motivation's not there, basically. Um, I'll run tests on the game and shit, but that's pretty much it for now. I asked Urza if she wanted me to stay. She gave me a yes, because because I've been leaning towards quitting indefinitely. He let me know
Yeah,
he's
I get
planning
that.
that he's planning on staying. Um, And what I had really vented about went into, to be honest, I knew this was coming. It was 10 years in the making. I don't want this chapter to close yet, but Destiny both isn't fun. I can't do it tonight, Urza, and nobody I play with is staying for the most part. It sucks because it feels like Bungie themselves slammed that chapter closed. Urza, if you didn't hear me, I can't do it tonight. Her PC's not going to do it. I have to download it on
No.
my laptop. I'll be able to do it Thursday.
Okay, no, that's fine. I was just double checking when I saw Army's message. I'm
Yep.
just double checking.
That's basically what's going on. Her PC for some
Understood.
reason is just crashing it left,
It's
right,
alright.
and center. But
No problem.
I continued with, I don't want this
I'm gonna
chapter to close yet.
Blip. Yeah.
You're
Pause.
gonna blip? Okay.
Yeah, I got to get on the phone at that point.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, no, I'm not going to sit there with a headset on my head.
That's totally fair. You don't need the headache from it squeezing your head all night when you're not even playing.
Oh no, I don't get a headache from it. I at least purchased one that doesn't do that.
But I continued with, I don't want the chapter of my life that's Destiny to close yet. But Destiny both isn't fun, and nobody I play with is staying for the most part. It sucks because it feels like Bungie themselves slammed that chapter closed, as well as
Yep.
it feeling like multiple chapters of friendships are closing too. As
You're
those
at the age where that does start, by the way.
I
That's
know.
another thing.
But for
Yeah,
me-
you're right at the beginning of it.
For me, you've also got to take into interpretation. I've lost how many people for how many years. You've witnessed
Hey,
it. I've been
you still have your brother, right?
Wolvie, but we barely talk.
But he is there. He will talk to you if you do talk to him.
Yeah, it's just hard
Every
to
so
vent to
often.
him
Yeah, I understand that
because
you guys grew up differently and
we
separately,
butt
but
heads because of our
yeah.
different mentalities when we do talk
Yeah.
about certain things.
yeah. And
And-
were you both born to the same woman, right?
Yeah, all of her,
Yeah,
all
alright.
of my siblings
Alright.
are same.
I
two
just wanted to make sure of
parents.
that. Curious.
But then I continued with,
Go ahead.
and as those friends leave, they become distant. For us to
Yeah.
someday cross paths, maybe on another game, and what sucks more is a lot of the friends I made on Destiny, I feel like I developed family-like bonds with, just to go back to being strangers with. And if I'm being honest, man,
Yeah.
I really am tired of having these friends end up just being another closed chapter. I miss having people I
Yeah.
hopped on the game with and to just game with.
Yeah, I get it.
Destiny became an addiction for me, quite literally,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
literally ruined my life. I have no.
And I agree with
social-
you.
I have no social life.
You're
I've
not
spent
you're not
so
alone.
much money between 3 different accounts that I could have probably owned a house by now. And barely
Maybe,
know, and I
maybe.
barely know how
That's
to
kinda-
properly
kind of a stretch,
have a
but yeah.
social life, even. Let alone
Well,
be
it
a
depends where you live too. Oh God.
let alone be a functioning, responsible adult. But then again, even if I did want to have a social life, I'm awkward as fuck in person, and I'm sure Army could vouch for that. Then I
And-
become talkative, but I'm miserable sober. And it never takes long for it
That
to be
I
known,
understand.
especially as I
Yeah.
accept that. I'm happiest when I'm feeding an addiction.
Maybe that's what we're supposed to do.
Destiny
Work
2
on that.
stopped being
Maybe.
fun. I barely play as a result. And I hate when I do. I have over 20,000 hours on Destiny, and I'm
Yeah.
only 27. I developed
Yeah.
an alcohol addiction at 21, and now I'm addicted to weed.
You're not alone there.
To weed, alcohol, nicotine, and mushrooms again.
And nicotine's the major one that's a bigger problem. Because that's the one that will never go away if you don't take care of it.
I had asked him right after
Yeah.
that, "Oh, you changed your mind about Edge of Fate?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna get it. I did change my mind. Being honest is the first step, bro. And as long as it's in moderation, you know." And I'm like, that's the thing, though. I admit it,
Yeah.
but I don't want to stop. I'm functioning fine,
Yeah.
and my job isn't affected. weed is 24/7. I'm on shift and not having at least a little, I'm literally itching. The alcohol is
Yeah.
an as I want it
You're
thing.
I'm gonna pause. I
Okay.
can tell by the way you word things, your addictions are bleeding into your words, even after you talk about them, but when you do talk about them, and it can be understood by those that have experienced it before.
That
It's not a problem. It's just something that you're living and going through like other people have.
yeah, I
And
know.
yeah.
I can
Don't
see
feel
that.
bad because you're not unique and special, like, but everybody is.
Wait
You
until you get to
understand
the end
that.
of this
You want
paragraph
that. That's what you
because
want.
when you realize when I get to the end of this paragraph, you might realize how bad it is. Um,
I'm not too worried about your wordings.
the
By the
alcohol
way,
the alcohol is an as I want it thing, but it's slowly becoming more and more days that I take shots, and I function fine with my day to day, but I spend probably close to 600 or 700 on it a month.
that's where the problem is. Yeah,
Exactly. Because I'm spending
yeah.
about equal to
That's
what I spend on groceries
yeah.
on it.
And me personally, I would not want to be because here's how much I spend on alcohol at most $60 a month right now. So yeah, but tobacco, I think I'm sitting at $58 a month for tobacco. That you should be able to do, right?
Nicotine is only when I don't have weed,
Uh,
basically.
oh, you literally. Oh wow. Oh fuck. I'm the other way with that then, because I smoke an ounce in 6 months. Like 2 ounces a year is all I smoke.
Uh,
Yeah.
so for reference, it takes about 3 grams to get me high.
Yeah, you build up your tolerance, and it's going to be hard for you to let go of it to be able to lower your tolerance because you have to let go of it for probably almost a whole year, maybe 7 months
By the time I'm at
to be able
nine
to lower your
days,
tolerance. Yeah.
on the ninth day, that's 27 grams, literally 1 gram below the
Hmm.
ounce.
Yeah.
So,
That's a lot. I couldn't do that. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah. Your addictions do play into the majority of that problem, but they're two separate problems. That's why I pointed it out. Your gaming and need for friends is one thing that would help you lean off the addictions, and the way you're expressing it tells me that you already know that's how you want it to proceed in life. Am I right?
say that one more
It's
time.
actually a question. So you have two separate problems in everything that you're stating. Ignore what destiny is. Just you want the friendships that you had, or something that replaces that, and you think that will help you lean off your addictions.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, the
Yeah. Yeah.
friendships, and
I honestly understand that.
I remember
I
back
actually
when I
have the
ran
time
with
to be able to
Voxel.
fix, but obviously, that when I have
Yeah.
events come up or things I have to take care of, I'm not going to be there.
I remember back when I ran with my first Destiny 1 team, the team I got with Urza, my my technical second Destiny team, which was when I met Sub. Um, then I remember Voxel, and when I met you through Richie, I remember, and then that lasted a long ass time. And I remember the in betweens when we had good
Yeah.
people come in and leave, like Meow Meow, for example, and
Oh, good lord.
and Alpha.
The guy that Alpha?
Alpha Dems. He was another PvP
I don't
guy.
remember him.
He always
Yeah,
hung
he
out
used to
with
be
Meow
Army. I do
Meow.
remember that.
He always hung out with Meow Meow, and they would always do stuff together, pretty much.
Yeah.
But he went MIA way fucking long ago, like probably right around
Probably
Shadowkeep
with
time.
somebody or put on duty somewhere else, considering that I think they were both Army, military.
I'm pretty sure Alpha was military, but I know
Hmm.
I know that through when I was keeping up on what he was doing, he had like a lot of real life that he started focusing on and like
Uh,
enjoying
a
his
good
youth.
portion of people playing games online when they meet groups, they have no problem not being their friend the next day, like just like leaving and never talking to them again.
Yeah.
Something I noticed. Me personally, I just liked being slotted with people that at least weren't bringing me down. And I mean more so verbally than video game wise.
Yeah.
But video game wise kind of played into importance at a certain point. Because I didn't want to be wasting time playing through the same crap with somebody that wasn't playing when they're
Like
saying they're my friend. Like Cryo,
G-
mainly.
Gigarek, even outside the game, was my friend for a while,
Hmm.
and then he suddenly just disappeared. I don't even
Yeah.
think he plays D2 that much anymore.
Yeah, I can believe that. I've met people
Um,
that have dropped all gaming and just like went and bought a boat and lived out in the fucking water somewhere,
Other than
fishing all
that,
day.
you
I've met
reach
people that done shit like that.
pretty much the only people that really I reach out to or reach out to me and we just kind of like talk or chill from time to time is you or is Bobby
Well,
Do Misty
I can tell you with what you're saying
and
in
Holland.
respects to myself, with what
Oh, and
happened
Sub.
earlier, I now understand all of what I was supposed to learn, and now it's not a problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely
I
does.
just have to have scheduling. Basically, it's like, I want to play this at this time. Okay. But there's some things in Destiny I will not do, which I think you gathered that.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of contest mode, even though next GM might require that. I will go that direction with that, but anywhere else, I'll probably run away from it.
Fair.
That I'm being fair with that because honestly, if it's GM, I probably can handle contest mode and strikes because I know the strikes too well,
Well, they're also adding
even the new
Grandmaster to
ones.
like Whisper.
Yeah, that's
And
stuff like that I know. So it's not like
they're
that's a big deal.
also changing Conqueror title.
Yeah, I was aware of that.
They're adding like the story missions and shit to it if I'm right from
Yeah,
what yours has said.
yeah, beat it on Legendary or Mythic. Yeah, I was listening to that today and I was like laughing. I was like, so you're telling me Legendary is feasible when you come into the game and Mythic isn't supposed to be even touched? I was like, I know people are going to go for it just because it's funny. But you have to play slow to do it.
And honestly, with games like Destiny and the way Bungie made me feel, I'm leaning more towards that movement going on. Stop killing games.
Yeah, yeah, and like the Destiny 1 thing that I mentioned to you, I can tell right now by playing through a little bit recently that two people doing it makes more sense. The way Destiny 1 is right now. If you hit the strike playlist, you get soloed in permanently. It's annoying.
What's it called? To answer your question, no, I did not. From our DMs,
Oh yeah.
I just saw
Okay.
it.
Yeah, oh, you didn't know that.
Kylie Blair,
Yeah, I found out
owned
about it and I
by
laughed. I
Phoenix
laughed to
International
myself. I
Limited.
went to go look it up and see all about that and I was laughing. I was like, that's funny.
Yeah, so what I'm reading is said it's saying it is led by Chief Executive Officer Kylie Blair and owned by Phoenix International Limited.
Yeah, and that's what you got to look up
And the
because that
CEO,
changed.
Lenoid Radvinsky's net worth
There he
is
is.
estimated
That's
at
him. That's him.
3.82 billion.
That's him. Just below Mark Zuckerberg, right? Mark is worth 12 billion or more than that. Way more than that.
It's getting a lot of criticism in
Yeah.
2025, but what people don't understand
It's
is sex
crossing
sells.
the barrier.
And
It's
it's
crossing a barrier at this point, though, because people are being abducted and forced to do stuff like that. Other countries force their people to do that.
oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
100%.
you have to understand that when you start getting into the fact that people volunteer to do it, and then you get the weird situation where people get targeted because they volunteered to do it. That freaked me out when I realized that. That's why I stay out of everything. I don't want to be targeted. Makes sense, right?
It does.
Yeah. It kind of grossed me out when I put it all together. I was like, well, I don't want to attribute and support this. I kind of need to back out and escape. And luckily, I can tell you this right now, honestly. I've only paid one OnlyFans girl a total of maybe $70 to talk to her for like 5 weeks. And I stopped. And I found out later, paying attention to shit about her on Instagram, she's likely married and just pretending to be single. Get that. That fucked with my head when I found that out. I was like, oh, okay. So the things I learned from disconnecting from Discord, okay, I don't have this aptness to pay attention to my computer and be affixed to it as much. And I feel the freedom to get up and walk away more often. Right?
Okay.
But now I have the self-control to do that because I was introduced to something in my life and I just fell into it. If that makes sense.
It does.
It was one of those things I realized I fell into my computer because I was trying to avoid society and didn't know how to deal with it. But with my past history of issues, which are all spiritual for the most part, it's God playing me. And at that point, I'm only going to... I tell you the solar eclipse story?
I think
When I was 5 years old?
I vaguely remember it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm 5 years old, right? So I can talk, I can walk, I can pick up things, I can manipulate things, and I can throw a ball. Okay? And I have marbles. So I'm 5 years old. It's October. I'm in the garage playing with my toys, outdoor toys, like balls, baseball bat, stuff like that. And I get a voice in my head. It says, go to your sandbox and play with your marbles. Right?
Okay.
So I was directed by thought. Here, I thought it was my own voice. Here, it's something else. And I know that now. But this memory is pretty interesting. So I go to the sandbox, which is in the back of the yard, and we're on basically a half-acre lot, which is pretty big. Okay. So I have to walk all the way out to the sandbox, and I'm 5 years old, so that takes a little while. I get into the sandbox, and I got my marbles. Now, the marble description, I'll tell you, I only had 2 breakers at that time, and I never bought marbles of my own when I got older, which... I would probably paint my own marbles now that I'm older. But one of them was, I would say, the universe. It had like galaxies on it and planets and stuff. But it was more like what you see in the sky. It wasn't highly detailed. And then I had the other one that was clear, that had just a glass hourglass symbol in it, which was interesting. I don't mean the infinity symbol. It's just a looks like a leaf on a plant for the most part. So I'm going in the sandbox playing with these marbles. I don't know what I did with the marbles. I could tell you I buried them in the sandbox. I don't know what I did. I probably was throwing them at other marbles and just bouncing them around. Because at the age of 5, I really didn't have a concept of a game to play with marbles other than throw and smash.
Okay.
So while I'm out there, it gets dark, and it got windy. And while it got dark, right?
Okay.
I'm looking around me, and it's pitch black dark. and I'm seeing like figures like, you know, things that you see in the dark as a kid scaring the shit out of me. So I'm sitting in the sandbox, scared as fucking crap, right? And I think there's like demons and evil things running around my yard. And it just got dark for no reason. I didn't understand what happened. And as the light comes back, the first thing that hit me was the color green, but I'm next to a farm field and I'm in the yard. It's grass, and everything around me is basically other people's yards that I'm looking at. So the light from the sun coming back from after the eclipse had happened, the darkness obviously disappeared. But when I was looking in the sun as it appeared, what I ended up seeing there would have been what you consider figures in heaven, standing inside heaven, but the sun itself is not a part of that, if that makes sense.
It does.
So God gave me direct command to witness a solar eclipse without knowing what it was, so I could experience it. And I take that message as not anything but you are loved. Please know that. At least that much. And that's how I knew why my life was so screwed up. Because he probably knew I had a fucked up life at that time. I wish other people got messages like that and understood that and knew that. And I know a lot of people that have. So I run into them and I can tell. And some of them get them the wrong way, which is not the way to get it. I've met somebody, and I had mentioned this to you before. I had met somebody I haven't seen in quite a while, somebody that's expecting me, that became Christian because he murdered his girlfriend in bed because she liked getting choked.
Oh wow.
He's in prison for that. Yeah. I don't know if he did it intentionally, but if he was drunk, whatever. You think about it, that's fucked up. That's like the worst way to find out anything, you know, committing involuntary murder due to sexual intentions that are expressed like that. That sucks. Two heavy stories. Maybe that's why people are scared of me, right?
Maybe.
Because my
I think that
stories are heavy as fuck. You imagine telling somebody that right in the open and meeting somebody that I do shit like that. That's why people don't like me. That's why I'm. Now, I will tell you, I have genuinely only approached 5 women in the past like 15 years. So, yeah, I don't exactly go out there talking to introduce myself to a lot of people to begin with. So, people can say it's my fault for not having a relationship, but I think somewhere in there, the fact that God didn't want me to have one is more likely how it is. I know I'm going to sound like this zealot, Jesus freak, and stuff like that because I say it like that, but that's just the only way I could explain things at this point. How I ended up where I'm at. Because when I found out what I was doing was wrong, and the major reason why my life was like that was because I was believing I was God. It was like the worst thing to deal with. I found out God used that against me, and that's why I was with nobody and why all the bad things were happening to me. When I found that out and why people involuntarily treated me like shit when I was in school, I found out that was why that was like that too. Or why people said fucked up shit that they shouldn't say to some other people. Yeah. Now, I don't know if I mentioned that to you before.
that one you didn't know.
Yeah, that one I'm aware of, and I'm comfortable with saying it because I've admitted it to even my neighbors, the ones that don't want to talk to me, in a video, and that's how I know that I know where my problem is now. Like that problem needed to go away, and I'm just going. I to you either in direct message on Facebook or something because the Discord won't let me shit across for the artwork. Yeah. Heavy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good relief to know what I was going through that led up to where I was at and why I needed no contact with anyone. I needed to be able to process a lot of things that I would never have thought. And the divorce was the major one. That was, I didn't tell you this, but the broken wrist, the first time I broke my wrist was actually during my last divorce. Like
Oh
the
wow.
one that I filed. It was at a concert. Okay. I texted her through her boyfriend at that time in New York. She was in New York. I hadn't seen her. Shit, probably didn't see her in almost 8 or 9 years at that point. So it was like me letting her know through her boyfriend that she's getting a divorce in the mail. Right?
Okay.
You understand. But here's the thing. She probably didn't tell him.
Mm.
You understand. So I'm at this concert, which is Avenged Sevenfold. I don't know what song was playing. I can't look up the video online, but I made the decision to go against a circle pit, the opposite direction. It'd be the second time I did it. Now I'm not young. I fall down backwards and I land on my wrist. And I drove to work the next day and found out my wrist was broken when I got to work. And I drove stick. So it tells you a lot about me. I don't use my wrist to drive a stick. So I use my hand. It's kind of how strong was the hand to run the clutch without actually using your arm, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of figured that out because I would shift with my fingers even as a kid. So it's one of those funnies. That was a little bit of the story to understand how I could have drove from a concert home for an hour away and then drive to work the next day, which was probably about 30 minutes away with a broken wrist. And that's interesting because the broken wrist from last year was to get me to realize that I needed to do that. I had paperwork to do. I immediately applied for a position that was available to me when I got back to work after the broken wrist. I was supposed to be aware of what I was being told. And no pun intended here, biblically, it says you have to be in a church to be able to seek divorce. No pun intended. So it's kind of like forcing me to follow his law. You understand that. Because of what I had been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I accept that. I honestly accept that's all I was supposed to know was you have major complications that can be seen as a major complication by many people, and you don't even care. And part of that's because my psychology had affixed to the evil one more so than following the blind everything's okay path, which is the way you and I would express it to some people. Because a lot of people don't want to put a lot into blind faith, but there is a lot there. The problem is you can't really see it or sense it all the time until you find that moment when you're happy for fucking 3 months straight because everything's going good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah.
To call it different topic. Did you see?
Yeah. Go
did,
right ahead.
did you see the numbers for the pre-orders yet?
I know they're low as fuck. I don't even care.
They're 50% lower than the final shape, which was down
Yeah,
from
which is lowest.
Lightfall, which
Yeah.
was down from
Yeah.
Witch Queen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's low as fuck. Because if they're still selling collector's editions and it's 2 months after release, and the longest sale rate they had was 24 hours. It was like 27 hours they sold out. So something that sells out within a few days of release and something that's still there 2 months after, nobody cares.
Wait,
They got to the point where they don't care.
are you saying that 2 months later they still have the highest editions of the Destiny pre-order?
Yeah, you can buy a collector's edition still. That's why I was making the
Ooh,
joke. The
those are
collector's edition
usually
is still
sold out
available.
by now.
Yeah, yeah. It's 27 hours was the longest. The shortest is like a couple hours. So you talk about a game that goes from that sale rate to nothing is
Which day did
they sold themselves.
it?
That's why.
When did Final Shape release again?
Oh shit. I don't even remember the day. I just know it has to do with my broken wrist.
Let's see.
Yeah.
That's 2023. That's too far back.
Yeah.
It's 2024. That's a Nightfall in June of 2024. Let me Google it. When did the Final Shape?
Wow, you
June
don't have
4th
to
of
actually word a
2024.
question for a Google search.
June 4th, 2024, it came out. So,
Yeah. June, which was right after my broken wrist, and I was still out.
I might have been
Yeah.
checking the stats in my Discord back
Yeah.
when that was going on, being that far back. It would not be there. Stats. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, no. That being said, how many players did the Final Shape have at launch? Okay.
Yeah.
So, they had on Steam, they only had 314,634 players at Final Shape launch. If I recall,
Oh yeah, they only hit like
numbers
900,000.
if I
They did
recall,
not break a
numbers
million.
back
It was
then
one of those things. And if they did, it was
were
only for one thing.
around numbers were like 700 to 900,000 back then at launch, because it only took them 2 weeks from launch to go back down to about 600,000, and from there it immediately plummeted down to 400,000 for the most part through the year. And in Revenant was the lowest we've ever seen of a
Yeah, because
tracked
when I dropped,
158,000 players.
oh, hey, the initial answer, I was still going through grieving issues as well, and I wasn't supposed to be sharing that with other people.
Um,
If that
if
makes sense,
it does, how many sales
I was aware of that.
did the
I was aware of that then.
Final Shape have?
Yeah, losing 3 family members in the same year does affect you.
So pre-orders for the Final Shape were already down 47% from Lightfall pre-orders, and the Edge of Fate pre-orders are down 50% from that. Despite lower pre-orders, the Final Shape received positive reviews. Now with a 94 top percent critic rating. It said by the time it let me add in at launch. At launch. So yeah, it's saying it had just about 1 million pre-orders, which was about about what you would have walked in with in terms of players. If it's 50% of that, that means we are averaging 500,000 players regularly.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep. Elder Scrolls. I'm making a joke. The question was, what are people playing?
Indie games.
A lot of people, yeah. Well, you look at Elder Scrolls,
I
World of
believe
Warcraft.
I believe
World
a
of
lot of
Warcraft has
people are
a bigger
playing
upset
indie
right now.
games. I feel like World of Warcraft is going to be more millennial and up kind of generation
Yeah,
playing it.
yeah.
Because
And then
it's
Destiny
very
Rising had a
popular
lot of
among
people
the.
in it, and I can tell you that because everybody that was there in the Discord, it's still a low number, but they were there. If you know what I mean. They were generating clans to affix and do multiplayer things, even without microphone or communication.
I saw when they did the raid on the first beta of Rising,
Yeah,
and honestly, it looked way better put together than fucking
yeah,
Salvation's Edge.
probably would be. Yeah.
Considering Salvation's Edge still has plenty of glitches to this day, and it's never
What
gonna
am I
get
doing?
fixed.
I know what I'm doing.
Cough, cough, Verity.
That.
But I've pretty much just been playing old games and emulating games for myself. Like I said, I recently played through a bunch of the Zeldas. I don't know what she's gonna make me play through when we get done with them. Because it was her idea to play them in the first place.
Yeah.
Hmm.
13 of the books in New Testament are written by Paul. Don't ask. I had to say what I was looking up. It was a curiosity I ran into. I knew part of that, but I didn't know it entirely. Not to that extent. Yeah. Yeah, I know I got a while until I fixate to going out. I got an event next month that's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah?
I'll let you know about it when I go. It's a 30 and up party, but it's a 21 and up event. You can see how that's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know it'll be funny when I'm standing there and looking around and being like, I think there's fewer people here over 30 than there are people that are. Just make that joke. People be like, "Are you serious?" Be like, "Yeah, I don't get out much." It's more so didn't get out much, and then I did, and unfortunately, I was going down the wrong path.
I've also gotten really opinionated with a lot.
That's fine. Everybody usually has their fixation on things that they have pet peeves on, and it builds opinionations. It's
But
pretty
at the
normal.
same time, I when like if I'm not playing a game, the odds are is if I'm not tripping balls already at home, then I'm probably somewhere on the internet trolling someone for no
Uh,
reason other than my own
yeah,
entertainment.
that I don't do. I actually avoid communication online. I rarely open Facebook. Some
Um,
like today it actually was a good thing I did because I found out which roads and made sure that I knew what roads were closed because I didn't really think about the flooding in the area affecting me in the morning, and it did. But I deleted Instagram. Did I tell you anything about my Instagram and why it didn't make any sense? No. Hello? Told you. Hello? Hello? Did it disconnect? I have no idea.
I figured out what was wrong. My headset unplugged and I didn't realize.
All right. So
But
Instagram.
go ahead.
Did you understand why I deleted Instagram?
I feel like there would be two good reasons. One, because it's owned by Zuckerberg and there's so much
No,
that he feeds
no,
into that you don't want your data fed
no.
to.
It's not political.
And I feel like two would
It was
be...
a health reason.
Oh, okay.
All right. So my search, for whatever reason, was OnlyFans advertisers mixed in with people that said that they were in their teenage years having birthdays, but they were making X amount of thousands of dollars in a week or a month. That was actually what their balloons were for.
Oh.
And people wearing diapers modeling. Okay. You understand what I'm saying here is like, that was my search feed. I deleted my
That
Instagram out.
that would be like, yep, that's enough internet for today.
You understand that. It's like I've seen some seriously fucked up shit on Instagram that I don't want to see. I can't unsee what I had seen that bothered me. But the reality is like delete and wait the 30 days and create a new one not linked to my Facebook to see if that was a world problem. The curiosity is there to find out if it was like a world problem. Everyone's accounts like that. Or if it's just me. Like, why me? Who the fuck hacked my feed? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the thing I realized. People are tagging the shit that they're putting up there with the same shit. So if you pull up just one OnlyFans girl or whatever, or somebody like that, that's an influencer like that, you pull everything else with that. Just because of that. So deleting it was the only answer to the solution there. It's not something I use. It worked out. I can honestly see the benefits already. Are you still there?
I am.
All right.
I had a funny idea for Destiny 2 and shit and content creating in other
Go ahead.
games. You use Twitter at all? Or X technically is what it's called now?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
You know how Elon has Grok, the AI, on there?
Okay.
Have Grok make you a build for solo play and use
Oh, really?
it in Grandmasters.
That'd be funny. It's interesting.
Or have Grok make you a build for
Yeah.
Destiny 1 end game solo play and play
Yeah.
a hardcore account working to create said build and then use that to play the
Yeah.
rest of the game.
I got killed by a tank too many times in Shield Brothers, and I basically said, yeah, hardcore account ain't something I'm into, but two-player. I could see being feasible.
Hardcore is something you can get into. You'd want to get into, but you'd have to be willing to do Final Fantasy tactics of leveling. Like an example, go play Final Fantasy X and do 100%.
Oh no, I got killed by a tank in a
Right.
solo strike, right?
But what I'm saying is,
I
if
I
you,
was over the power level required for that, so it didn't matter. It was the tank.
oh,
I eventually
worse.
killed the tank, but the reality was like I hadn't played it in so long that I lost all my tactics. You know what I mean?
Ouch.
Yeah, like I hadn't played it so long that I literally just like lost the tactics for the tank. And I was on a hunter on top of that. So
Um. Hmm.
yeah, I eventually got to the part where I actually finished the Shield Brothers and a match made me with somebody for that. It was funny to watch. We made it through that without wiping. So, but we both died off and on. So that's kind of what I was getting at is like when you're playing two player, you at least have the option of dying and continuing to move forward instead of getting an entire deleted account that far in. That's difficult, honestly. Especially if you have limited weapon resource. Like I can't do echo chamber until I have a sniper right now. So I'm trying to hit level 40, but I'm not going to probably be playing that until after Edge of Fate at this point because I think this weekend is weird. We play Destiny on Thursday. My day off. Morning I'm going to do my mom's blood test, so I got 1 day of work yet. Oh, and I'm using Breathe Right to be able to stay out of my sinusitis. That's what I said about the people with the coronavirus or COVID vaccine. The people have been reporting that they have having respiratory issues. Also mixed in with sensitivity to wheat that they didn't have before. Those are two leading things to look at. Because eating breads and wheat, if you became at all sensitive, would cause sinusitis in the morning or respiratory issues. That's something I've kind of found out was actually real. That's a real thing. You there?
I'm here.
Yeah. That's probably good for you to hear that, honestly. Because that's not something that they're going to like publicly announce until enough people fucking like want to start suing the government for damages done and shit like that. You know, people attack that and people are afraid to do that. So, yeah.
I
I'm, yeah.
I feel like when it comes to hearing some of these things, I need time to like let it
Process what I'm saying.
let it
Like
just to
I'm
let
kind
it
of like
sit,
this like weird situation.
so
Here's
that
all the shit that I didn't tell you.
for me it's like sometimes I just need to sit there and let it sit so that I can like mentally piece together in my mind a visual so that I can like see it and understand it, if that makes
Yeah, I
sense.
get that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the COVID one, that one there, I know that the sinusitis that I have might be related to smoking and allergies more so because the air quality around here is shit right now.
For us it's the same with
So,
this heat wave.
yeah. And I have breathe right strips that I ordered just so I could like actually breathe properly.
Has it been getting like really overly hot there too?
Yeah. Like 98, 99, 103.
Yeah, see, I saw somebody trying to say PA's only been in like, oh, I
You're
have no
killing me.
clue. I have no clue. I clicked the wrong thing, dude.
You're trying to say that PA's like heat wave is
I
less
saw
than yours?
people saying that PA's around like 71 to 75 degrees regularly during this heat wave, and I'm like, no, the fuck, it's not.
No, it
Literally, the
depends where
whole
you live.
country. Literally, the whole country is in a place where it's the hottest. Like it already feels like the hottest
Right
summer
now,
to have
maybe, because
ever
right
hit.
now it's actually 70 degrees right now here.
Um,
But we just had a pile of rain dump on us and we got flooding everywhere.
I was like, yeah.
It's
See, I was like, it's like the hottest summer to hit so far, and if it continues on the track it's been
well,
on.
not for me. Not for me. I'm
Well,
I am older.
here's the
So
thing though,
you
right?
said that and I'm like,
If the
no,
summer
there was a hotter summer than this.
last year,
No, I mean in the 80s, in the 90s.
this year is already this heat wave was hotter than last summer during this last week.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Last summer is the hottest summer to have ever
Yeah.
hit humanity.
Oh, really? That's what they say?
Yes, I looked it up.
Wow. Wow. I've experienced hotter. I can say that.
So last
Not
year,
not weather in general, by the
so
way.
so
I'm
last
talking about environment.
right. So last summer is the hottest summer in recorded history.
Wow.
Um, and
I
this
didn't know
year's
that.
heat wave was hotter than that. So if
Yeah.
the entire rest of the summer were to continue on that track, we'd have yet another hottest summer in human history the
Yeah.
very next year.
But you understand why I was saying that I see the world just burning.
But
God,
look at
like
well,
unleashing the sun on
mhm.
Earth and just letting it do whatever it does.
Look at the west side
Something
of
like that.
California, I think it was, where like
Yeah.
2,414 acres, I think it was, is currently on fire and only 30% of it has been
Yeah.
maintained.
Well, a third of the world is a desert too.
Um,
Well, of living land, a third of it's desert,
people
like
say
actual land,
People
not
say
water.
it's a conspiracy and they can say it all they want,
Even
but
though it's inaccurate.
if they really believe that the government isn't using chemtrails to weather control us to death, then they're idiots because we
Well,
literally
that
did it
don't
in
matter.
Nam.
That don't matter. They don't have entire direct abilities on that. They have some, but not a lot. That one there's a
I,
interesting statement, by the
I
way.
believe it's a form of population control that they're doing and able to get
I
away
personally
with.
think that like
Uh,
you talk about population control, high fructose corn syrup is their best form of that. They already do that with that.
I also believe that the way they approached
Yeah.
COVID and the COVID vaccines
That I agreed
is
with,
also
mostly because
population
of the
control.
vaccines. The vaccines, I believe that because I've seen statistics and I believe the statistics that are out there. So,
I
yeah,
believe that in 2030 we're going to see people dying left, right, and center, and it's going to be covered up. But a lot of people are going to come out and state that it was COVID vaccines that were causing these side effects and causing people to
yeah,
drop, and then they're
yep,
going to disappear and and everyone's going to be told that's
yeah.
not true. It's a conspiracy
Well,
theory.
yeah. You're more along the lines of correct and correct and correct.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're already on the
yeah.
verge of another civil
I wouldn't
war.
doubt stuff like that.
We've already been on the verge of a civil war this year.
Yeah.
On top of the fact we've been on the verge of World War III for this year.
Well, that there I agree with. Because you don't
So
want Iran having a nuclear weapon with the way they are.
I say we're on the verge of civil war because of a few
Well, that there I
reasons.
agree with too, but I think it's going to be more so a little bit more not
I th- I
going
my
to politics
prediction
versus massive when you over like no can
my
that happening more often to the point where people don't work.
my prediction from back in
So
2019 is
yeah,
that we're going to get
like
hit
the
by
entire
the
country going on strike, basically.
yeah. I mean, we
It,
right
it's an
now
easier form of a union in the first place. I always thought that was funny.
right now I see back in 2019 I had said I see the Civil War happening and then World War III happening at the same time. Like right
Yeah,
after
you're
we
not wrong.
like we they like the world would see us begin a civil war, and we're going to be in a place where every country hates us, and because we're in a civil war, World War III is going to begin, and we're going to be the first ones out of the war
Yeah,
because we're too busy
yeah.
fighting ourselves to fight off all of our surrounding fronts.
We would likely get invaded for the land and resources at a period of time,
Um,
regardless if there's war or not. It's just something that I naturally realized that people
and
would do.
even if that said
Uh,
war didn't end the
Yeah,
world, it would leave us
yeah,
in a place where it's damn close to it, and we're already in a place where natural disasters are causing a lot of death and
yeah. And I
pretty
expect
much
natural
areas to
disasters to
become
defeat World War III
uninhabitable.
or anything similar.
Um,
Yeah,
I would imagine that even the
yeah.
surface of the
He
three
believes that that
bases,
won't happen in different ways.
I wouldn't be surprised if the three bases that Trump had bunker busters sent into, um, even on the surface, can't be inhabited right now because of all of the radiation from underground.
Mm, depends.
And if that were to be true, then just like
Yeah.
Hiroshima and I forget the name of the other location, they'd be uninhabitable for a minimum of 100 years.
Chernobyl's supposed to be habitable within the next 10 years, but that's plutonium. That's a different resource rate. Hiroshima should be habitable for 2 generations out. You're probably accurate on that. About 100 years. You're right. And when you bomb something that's encased, it would still be encased. They would still be able to take into the ground and get what they need out of it, especially if they knew the bombings were happening. So there's no radiation leak if it's encased.
They didn't know the bombings were
Fusion,
happening,
yeah.
but
Well,
he sent
oh,
B2.
I guarantee you they knew that the bombs were going to drop before they hit. I guarantee you. If it was on the news beforehand, they knew that it was going to happen long before, and they take precautions to save their assets, and in which they may have already saved their assets, which is logic. You don't publicly announce that you're sending militia force over there. They're going to prepare for a bombing before the force gets over there.
Yeah,
It's not hard to
no,
understand political warfare.
when he sent those B2s over there or B12s over there, no,
Yeah.
those are B2 bombers with bunker busters.
Yeah, but the
Not
world
even
already knew
Congress
that
knew.
he sent a task force over there. They sent a carrier over there the day before the bombing.
Oh,
That's the thing. Because we sent the carrier, we gave them 24 hours to get ready to be bombed, basically.
uh,
You understand that if you're looking at political warfare, if you're playing real-time strategy games, I can tell you right now that they might still have their assets and they might have moved them. Like, people over there
according
are at war all the time. They're doing stuff like that. They're preparing for things like that when they do that.
according to what
That's
he
the way they live.
and
That's why.
his chief of national security says, no, they didn't move anything and it's all completely wiped out. But
Then they
then
might have done an encasing system, which I understand.
but at the
It
same
can take the
time,
blast of a
there were
bomb
those
directly.
reportings of
Yeah.
a vehicle leaving
Now,
Fordo, a vehicle's leaving
with the
Fordo.
technology we have, if there is radiation over there, we're gonna know about it, and that will end up being public news and science research. I'm not going to discount what you're saying is possible,
I'm not
if that
saying what
makes
you're
sense.
saying is
Yeah,
impossible either.
yeah.
That's why I'm
It's just
saying like
the
they
logical
there were
statement that
reportings.
I just look at and like, yeah, the fusion bomb doesn't exactly irradiate anything until it's active, so you know it wouldn't explode. Then the A bomb won't go off, or hydrogen bomb, whatever they're building. Like it won't go off. What's over there is radioactive, but if as long as it's being sealed because people are working on it, it's going to have to be sealed for people to work on it because it would kill you if it wasn't. So if it's sealed in something that's bomb tight, even if it was laying on the surface. So it's kind of a complexity of having nuclear weapons for more than 70 years, I think. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. The technology obviously would be designed for it to go through shit like that.
Oh,
Yeah. Weird. The wealth of knowledge that doesn't cease.
I guess.
And all the negative things I've learned that I don't want to know about.
So I guess Bungie showcased the 9 raid today a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
At least the landing for it. To be honest, it already doesn't look that much different than Prophecy.
It probably doesn't.
It's literally looking like it's in the same area. Just like
Yeah. That's funny. That would be hilarious.
like I get that the unknown space looks primarily the same. It's just come on.
That's funny.
You might as well just give me back Reckoning with the way this looks.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
It's
right about that.
It's not a visually pleasing space. It's really not. Coolest
man.
location inside of the unknown space. Either Reckoning or Spire of the Nine. Oof. Oof. God. I never played those other dungeons and got any of the weapons. Crap.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as the life goes, the church is basically asking me to be there for both services, which actually isn't a problem. So I gotta talk to them again about that because I just have to know about it beforehand. I can't do it the same day without knowing about it based on my current schedules. It would just move my schedule around a little bit and that'd be good. That's a good thing though, because then I get to meet all the people that aren't already retired for the most part. People that are probably in my age group and the youth. Being around children is a benefit. I've learned that before. Yeah, 30 and up party. Too bad it's not this week. I had to make jokes like that for my own sanity. My vacations are working out that I sporadically put in.
Yeah.
I put in for like 4-day weekends sporadically throughout the year. They're working out right now, and I think it's going to work out because when February comes around, I won't have vacation until June. So I'll have that period of time to deal with it. But that probably will benefit me in the long run. And by then, most of my other issues will be solved. So put, they won't be complicating my work process anyway. Yeah, and I can tell you, for how much time with the marriage or separation, the legal separation that I have, I can tell you the majority of some of the wordings that I was saying and stuff like that was just to get people to be inspired to get me this react and find out that I was still married. So the agitation was not really what was agitating. What was agitating was that because the real reason was something I didn't know about. something to do with how things propel around me, or based how I would judge oneself, as if I was being watched by God. That you understand that,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't put it on somebody else to be proposed by me while I was still married, legally speaking. And that would cause complications. And if I didn't know about it, I would not have wanted to meet somebody. Weird. It's weird. Did it to myself and didn't know it. But the other complication is it really should not have stopped other people from wanting to be with me or stuff like that. But the parts that I was saying were, but the agitation was based on something else that I just didn't know about, the lack of knowledge of. Yeah. Couldn't say my whole life was like that, because I know for a fact I didn't choose my parents, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And I know you have the same statement for many good reasons. I'm going to pop what doesn't do what it does to me. I'm going to add some melatonin. It doesn't put me to sleep. I'm being dumb.
You're fine.
Yeah.
I actually just, I'm actually really under the weather.
Yeah.
It's part of why I'm so
I can tell
fatigued and
with
not really talking
all the
at
problems that you're
times.
having, I'd be stressed out and sick naturally.
So with treating the
Like,
fleas, I have something called
yeah,
FAD, F-A-D, flea allergy dermatitis,
yeah, I don't.
and
I know what it can do. Yeah,
basically I'm dealing with all of the red welts it's
yeah,
talking about and
yeah,
cluster
yeah, yeah,
patterns and shit.
yep, yep.
The itchy burning feeling from that.
Yeah.
Um,
Been through
plus
similar
plus
for
I'm
different reasons.
at random points I'm hitting lightheaded,
Military
dizzy,
time. Yeah.
nauseous. Um, I have had for over a month really bad diarrhea, and I've got. Some days my eyes are good. Some days my eyes are extremely red, itchy, and even crust over with a form of bacterial pink eye that FAD
Yes,
gives you,
military time.
and I have to treat it.
Yeah, these are all things I've gone through in the
And
military, minus
then
the fleas. The fleas weren't the cause of most of it.
and then on top you gotta add in all, I'm dealing with all that stress and financial struggles and trying to figure things out because the reason why the car is so important and has pretty much been the top priority is because her tags are out of date.
Yeah, yeah, that would be important.
So she can't get them done until
Yes,
all of those fixes are done, and we can't afford to get a different car, even used.
man. Yeah, and I have technically have two cars. I feel really bad.
And in the back of my
you know,
head,
you know, you know that's not exactly all true, but you get it.
and in the back of my head, I can't help but feel this crushing weight of like, oh, it's 20,
When's this all gonna get taken care
it's
of, and
2020
is it
all
gonna
over
get better?
again. I'm going
Yeah,
homeless again.
yeah, exactly. I understand that. And she's not the source of your problems. She benefits you.
She quite literally
Lu-
benefits me. I'm
Luckily,
the source
you
of her
have somebody.
problems.
Yeah, that I think that's interesting, because honestly, the male having the issues is better.
And what's worse
Women with
is
issues can be a nightmare sometimes.
what's worse
And I'm not
is
saying it's any different, but it's a
she can't
similar concept.
strategically critically think like I can. She can't
Yeah,
solve a lot of the problems that we've solved without me being able to be like, okay, let me deep breath, get down to earth, and figure something out. Figure out a strategy, a plan of attack, an approach.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I don't know how to say that because my exes were the unfaithful type.
she's not like that. She's too Christian.
Yeah, yeah,
She's way too
yeah,
Christian
yeah. But
to.
you understand why I say that because they were the source of the problems too.
Yeah.
Like
Chicks like
they
that usually
are.
are.
Now I was going through problems too, but they also were the source of some of those problems.
Honestly, when I was younger, I was
Yeah,
like, I could never see myself with a religious person. And now
yeah.
that I'm older, I'm like, I want somebody with that's actually religious because
You know what's funny? I could see
even if I don't
myself
agree with the religion, it's
being
like
with somebody that's irreligious just as long as they were willing to do something like what you did, like go on a holiday.
for me, the reason why I'm like I want them to be religious is
Yeah,
because I want them to be not super strictly religious like you are, where it's like the Bible is law, 100% of it is accurate. I want people who are willing to. I want someone who's religious and knows the Bible and has morals based off of the Bible, but is willing
rather
to
than being a
be,
hypocrite.
yes, rather than being a
Yes,
hypocrite, but also is willing to listen to another perspective of it and be like, even if I don't agree with you, I accept that that's your view
yeah.
and can see where you're coming from
I've
logically with that.
a lot of people. I've found ways of making sure that they learned. I respect that perspective more so than the fire and brimstone.
Yeah.
If they were taught that way, when it comes up, and I found ways of expressing it based on my beliefs that are biblically strong in other churches than their own. And I mentioned those things instead, just as like a rebuttal. And I find that most of them turn around and they're very excited to continue the conversation, even though they feel in the wrong at first. They basically apologize and thank without actually having to feel sorry for it, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, because I'm not putting them down because I found I'll tell you that discussion because that actually is an interesting discussion because the person of which I'm speaking of played Destiny up to Witch Queen, and it's not somebody I ever played with. Uh, it's somebody that is not a part of my peers. It's somebody that's actually technically above me in the food chain.
Oh.
Okay, so it's interesting. It's interesting to have somebody above you that plays Destiny and no one around you that actually does for the most part. It's kind of weird. But the situation here is I'm talking about my divorce to him, right?
Okay.
And the way I was saying it, I just found out that day too, right? I was saying to him that I was looking in the Bible and I can see where, since it was an unfaithful marriage, I'm allowed to remarry as long as I get my divorce done. Right. But I also pointed out to him nothing else. And he said something about, wouldn't you be worried about adultery? And basically going to hell is what he was talking about. If I were to meet somebody in between now and the divorce.
Hmm.
And I told him later when I finally rebutted him, I pointed out to him that in teaching, I would usually avoid telling people that everything's black and white and try to bring people to the idea that God's all forgiving and let him make the decision what actually happens. You know what I mean? And that's a good
Yes.
teaching that I learned on my own through my life experiences and knowing something about it at the same time. And I kind of realized if God is all forgiving, you kind of have a situation here. You can't make his decisions for him, if that makes sense. So you can't go around telling people, are you going to burn and go to hell because the Bible says this, when this person over here might have been forgiven for those things. And then I was explaining to him, man's law isn't God's law, right?
Right.
And that what's in the book isn't really seen that way in heaven. But he's like, yeah, but the Bible also says that you have to follow the law of the land anyway. And I didn't know that, which was good to have the conversation, because I told him I see things as black and white just as you, and I was following it that way anyway, because I kind of took it that that was God's way of telling me, get ready, be prepared, but it's not now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That, and for me, with what I'm going through right now, I'm trying to pay debt off before I really go out there. Because in my situation, I haven't lived debt free since I got out of the military. It's kind of important, especially if I want to live here at this house and be able to own it and be able to pay for it if my mom wasn't here.
Did you still want to
So
do a podcast sometime?
maybe. I honestly, we have to make some rules around that, that you take action if I ever get into anything about Revelations.
We'd probably have to make
It's,
rules in general about like just
yeah,
standard do's and don'ts. Both read up
yeah,
on the TOS of whatever
yeah,
we're doing it.
yeah.
Make sure we're
Honestly,
trying
I
to
I
make
don't mind talking about anything out there because I have a wealth of knowledge and I do like to look things up if I don't know something or if I have something wrong. It's not a problem.
and like when we do talk about stuff like that, we could easily put that stuff on screen to
And
show
if that
what we're
guy that,
talking about.
I'll tell you this right now, that guy that called me from prison, if he really didn't do anything and he gets out and he does contact me, I have to go to wherever he is to visit him by utilizing vacation whenever that happens. And that might not
So
happen at an opportune time, but
I
he
don't
would be
know
into that.
much
And
about
he
said
is a
person.
different wealth of information,
I don't
a whole
know.
different
I
wealth.
don't know much about said person, and
Yeah.
my question to you would be: have you prepared yourself mentally, physically, and financially for any stress it may cause you, or any ways he may have changed while away?
He is not somebody I'd be looking at my home, for one. The only thing I'm offering him is the direction and mentality to the church for homeless, a place of shelter while they work so that they can afford their own living. That's the offer I have for him, to be able
Okay.
to transport to a place like that and do the research. That was a good question because the way you asked it, the lead into it, there's no financials other than the initial day of meeting. And here's a breakfast. Here, we need to go find this for you. This is what you need in life. And we'll go from there. And I'll visit, or you can visit me, or we find a place near me for him to move here, which could work for him, depending if that's available.
Okay.
So, yeah, honestly, he's more of a pacifist than anything. He's like one of the least aggressive people I've ever met. And he's not about asking people for money. Unfortunately, he was one of the few that were still friends because of that. Even though he's in a situation where it's like, yeah, I definitely have to work when I get out of here because I don't have anything anymore. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. That was a good question. I like the way you worded it.
It's the same. I try to word things the same way I view things, and I also, when I'm talking to people, try to break things down and simplify, like in math, because for me, math has always been my strong suit. So if I take a situation that's, say, really high-end political and hard to understand and try and dumb it down to be like, okay, well, if you compare this situation to this situation, even though they're completely different, it's a similar situation. And if you were to compare them, if it's not okay here, it's probably not okay here. You know?
That's true. Yeah. No, I know I told you the Monkey King theories.
Yes.
That was hard for me to process when I got through it. I eventually made an entire version where it worked. Because I watched the first film where there's an inaccuracy with what I was looking at, and I made it work. And when I made it work, the story got very creepy. And when I realized if I wrote something like that, I would get much ado of nothing. Because, yes, I would gain financial gain. Yes, I would gain fame. Yes, I would be known. But I would also be known by many that would be enemies. And I wouldn't know who they are. That's why the Revelations one is worse. Because that makes more enemies than friends to begin with. Scary.
A little bit, actually.
Yeah, it scared the fuck out of me when I realized I had the type of books that if you unwielded them on the world, they would wield powder. If that makes sense. Like,
that does.
strength. Like, all books do, but we're talking about wielding power of religious power. We're not talking about, basic, here's a story. This is enjoyable. This is good to learn from. This is going to pervert your mind and turn you into a zealot, or it's going to pervert your mind and want you to go down the path where you create your own religion. You understand.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't do that to people. Not on that scale. And I realized you could actually use it as a blackmail against people in power by writing the book to them and then writing them a letter. I will unleash this on the world if you don't do this for me and make demands. It would freak the fuck people out. And I just realized you don't do that. That's not your path. And that's where the evil one wanted me to go my entire life. Which goes back to the solar eclipse story. If that makes sense.
That does.
Yeah, my father had died 2 years before the solar eclipse. So, and I know my memory. I made my imaginary friend Duck before that, due to a film that I saw at the age of 2. So, and Duck is the same voice, by the way. So that voice plays both Satan and God in my head, and unfortunately, as I got aged, it turned into myself and my personal dilemmas, which most people would attribute to Satan because people torment themselves, which is, I know you understand that. That's a basic understanding because you have multiple personalities and you attribute them to all their different variables, which is a talent, by the way.
Okay.
Especially if you can apply that to people without actually getting to know them. Which you probably do that, I'm guessing.
Say that one more time, that part.
You apply that to real people without even trying, without knowing much about them.
Apply which thing, though? Like, what thing?
Personalities, like running in your head based on other people.
Oh, yes. But the
Yeah.
problem
Yeah,
with
you
that
definitely
is,
do that.
that's another problem with me having a social life and social interaction. I can control it to a degree because when I was 18, my therapist at the time got me into
You did
lucid
what I did.
dreaming, and
Oh, you have the other part of it.
he
You didn't do
helped
what I did.
me. He helped me use that to get in communication with my alters. So, because
That's
I
where the
have
headache starts.
communication with my alters, I'm different than most people with DID, dissociative identity disorder. And
Got it.
instead of wanting to heal and let them merge back in, me and they are in agreement. Each of us are our own individual person, and we exist for a reason and deserve that chance to live our own lives. And as much as that tears my life apart and is destroying it, it's also the only way I can keep my sanity.
Yeah.
And be okay.
Makes sense.
At
Yeah.
the same
For
time.
me, personality-wise, it took me a long time to attribute which people I kept with me. I know which people I kept with me with what I've gone through in the past 5 years. And I will tell you this, you don't play any part in any of them. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Because you and I are already very much alike, so it's hard to have a personality that's exactly one-to-one almost what you already are.
Yeah. Yeah, based off age difference. I agree with you on that. I also don't see you in person frequently, but the thing is, my ex-wife's one of the ones that were floating and still floating. Because I still hear her voice when I'm reminded of her. So that creeps me out a little bit. Because I don't remember other voices from women, so it kind of plays out the way it does. Maybe that's somebody I get to talk to on the phone in the future.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. I figured that in some ways, if God is even, in some ways that might actually be true, because the reality was I didn't choose to marry her because of out of the blue I fell in love or was a lustful decision, right?
Okay.
I prayed to God to meet a wife of a specific nature. And somebody had pointed out to me, you don't make demands of God. God already knows what's best for you. This is probably not supposed to be your wife. That God will test you because of what you prayed for. I didn't know that back then. But then again, that's one of the personalities that I recently discovered was somebody I was never supposed to trust. And not somebody I ever mentioned to you before. Somebody that lived with me as a roommate while I was in the military, while I was with my wife. So he used to be Christian, but he drank. He didn't go to church on Sunday from what I remember. And if he did, I don't remember him doing it. So you can understand it's kind of weird. Somebody reading out of the Bible, teaching you things, and finding out some of those were not taught right. Got to caught on to it. Realized it was somebody I was never supposed to trust.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's sad to know that, but also I know that everything that happened then already happened and there's no changing it. So looking back at it, it's kind of like I'm looking at something over 20 years ago. I'm not in the 20 years ago. I'm not the person that was there 20 years ago. Because back then I didn't make decisions. I didn't make decisions for myself primarily until I hit the age of 28. And I can tell you that. Even the wrong decisions I did for myself that I knew were wrong, those things were induced by something else. And I'm aware of that now. So that goes right back to the same thing that I said earlier. We didn't choose our parents. Or the world our parents had to live in, being a better descriptor. There's a lot that can change with the world, but I basically know that where I'm at and what I've learned, we're supposed to just sit back and watch and wait and try to find a way to survive and flourish on our own, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. I honestly think we're closer to an end than a beginning. If that's the other one. I don't know if that's real or not, but it kind of creeps me out. Like we're closer to an end than a beginning. Not saying that the world would end entirely, but just like the idea of society and civilization in general. And if the Euphrates River actually fully dries up, then I'd be worried. That's a complication, though. Because they actually put dams on it to cause that. So it's kind of funny. I don't know if you knew about that. In the Bible, the end of times speaks about the Euphrates River being dried up. Okay, that's where the reference is. the river itself has dams put on it for hydroelectric power that's causing the problem. So man is causing the problem. So if the dams break, it will no longer be drying up. It's kind of a joke. You think about how ridiculous that sounds. Like they're stepping on a butterfly.
Right.
Fixes everything, right? Step on the dams. Euphrates fills up, and the world like turns into a different world without the greenhouse effect magically over the course of several years after that. You'd be sitting there and be like, those waters aren't just waters. They have spiritual meaning. It'd be funny if something like that happened, though. That's a good example of something I wouldn't want to share on a podcast.
If we do the
Just
podcast,
so you understand that.
I'd want to figure out exactly what we want to do for it and what days we want to do it, how long we want to do it for, and then prior to those days coming, we could probably let each other know what topics we plan to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, like, example, if we were to do, say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday...
Me, topic-wise, I usually wouldn't make a decision until the day of, because my decisions are usually based on the fly for the most part now, especially conversation-wise.
It's based off of how you feel that day, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's like what I feel, what I experience, what's going on, but not just in my life, but like looking at the world in general.
It's the same thing for me, so we'd both be able to probably play it really well because we'd probably both walk in knowing how much time we need to talk about each thing.
Yeah,
and
I would share artwork and ask for critique somewhere in there. If I was sitting down and doing that now. That's a good example. It's like a random, don't make any sense, but...
That's not a problem, actually, because there's ways we could do that.
Oh, I got one.
You do art digitally, and I do art with, an actual sketchbook.
The four bases of dating.
Oh, what? First, second, third, and fourth?
No, the four bases of dating, right?
Yeah.
I made an entire document in my head having a conversation with a classroom made of personalities of the people I work with while I was working. And that's in my memory still, so that's a good one. That's funny because it's long. Actually, is like a small pamphlet that you hand to somebody and be like, here, this is the suggested form of dating by somebody that's recommending people follow this path instead. But it doesn't always work. But the reality is it actually covers a good portion of all bases of what could happen and good ways of doing it without pissing people off or doing something you shouldn't or going through something that you don't want to go through. So it's pretty good. I should write that down somewhere. I'll do that before I go to bed. I'm good. Yeah, tomorrow's my last day at work for the week. They gave us the 3rd off.
Looks like they gave you the 3rd, 4th, and 5th off.
Yeah, well, well, we never work on Saturday or Sunday unless it's overtime. And overtime, we always have off Friday, too. It's 4 10-hour days, Monday through Thursday, and I started popping vacations in there randomly just to get 4-day weekends. So it's kind of nice to have a 4-day weekend with a holiday, and then, like, I guess 2 weeks from now, I also have another 4-day weekend coming up. So, and I did that because I knew, for health reason, God was trying to inspire me to go to rec center. I crossed the rec center out when I knew I had to get a divorce first. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. Because honestly, if I had to get a divorce first, I wouldn't want to be in a rec center trying to meet somebody or trying to develop relationships to begin with until after that was taken care of. So I knew God inspired me by using that to make sure that I make it through the year psychologically. And I put that together recently and realized that. And the best way to explain that is it's intuition that I already have that's innate to myself and my own abilities. And I know where the good is, and I just got to start sorting that out. That's my best way of explaining that. It's not really like God putting a voice in my head. It's just understanding what's good and what's not and processing what's going on. And how the intuition gets something in my head and how I know, hey, I have to do that. I don't know why I have to do it, but I know I have to do it. I'm sure you go through that.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I think everybody goes through it, but it's like, it's more prevalent when you're younger. That I know, because when you get older, you end up making the wrong decisions without realizing you're doing wrong sometimes. Things change. That's a reason for that. So, like me communicating online with people, like you trolling people, similar situation. Stuff like that. In some ways, you could be helping people, depending on who you're trolling, by the way. Sad to say that. I don't know if you heard anyone tell you that.
Repeat one more time for me, please.
Some of the people you troll might actually be helped by what you do to them.
Oh yeah, because you never truly know what or who you could unintentionally be helping or harming
Exactly.
at any given
And
moment.
I realized that when you said it, and I'm like, in some ways, I look at like how people can be used as a tool if they're allowed to, or if they're actually doing good and not knowing it. Stuff like that might actually be helping people do things like, oh, I shouldn't use the internet. I should have a better life and stay out of the computer and try to be around other people and talk to people. Some people might react that way just to save themselves. And I know I'm relating to myself in regards to that, but it's a good example. It's a good example. There's a good thing to talk about. Interactions online. How I avoided being stuck talking to people in comment sections anywhere. I forget what the last comment I made was. Oh my god. I corrected somebody on something. Did I tell you about the 3D monitor that they put out? In the conversation I had on Reddit about it?
No.
I don't think I ever mentioned it to anyone. It was just something I noticed that was really weird. So the person had bought it and took a picture of it, and I asked him in detail if he would at least take the time to download Destiny and tell me if it ran in full screen and actually ran in 3D based off the AI CPU software that they had. He didn't do that. He told me it didn't work, and I was like, that's bullshit. It's like, you didn't try it. He avoided it. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. And then he went and commented on my Discord question in the 3D forum, and I was like, okay, this person literally is acting like they don't even own the monitor inside the Discord, so I'm not even going to pay attention to anything they're talking about. It's like talking to an AI bot saying it bought something. I was like, yeah, you're not a real person to me right now. I don't know who you are. Thanks for listening.
No problem.
Military stories. I tell you about the 10 alcohols.
10 alcohols?
10 alcohols. 10 different alcohols, yeah. I was in Slovenia, which used to be Czechoslovakia. Used to be a part of Russia a long time ago. So we go out there, and this is the second port I was in, maybe a third. Interesting country. They like force their women to be like, the secretary assistants and hotel stewardess, and then hookers on top of that. And then they have gambling and all that shit in the hotels, but they don't have a lot of other stuff. It's like their money literally came from whatever they had available in consumerism. They didn't really have a lot of resources. So I thought it was odd. But while we're there, so back then I was new to drinking because I didn't drink at home and I didn't go out very often. So the Four Horsemen was I don't know, I'm sure you know what that is.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a drink I would normally order sometimes. And that's because I didn't drink often, and I only drank when I got off the ship overseas. I didn't drink at home. I basically would find somebody that had marijuana and would be smoking pot. That was usually my choice. And then they did a challenge, the other three gentlemen I was with, and we were at a restaurant. And they served liquor. And they chose to get 10 different liquors mixed together in like a cup, like a big bowl cup. And it was a challenge to see who could drink it without gagging, reflexing, and whatever, right? With no reaction. That was the challenge. First person drank it, he got up and ran to the bathroom. He couldn't even fucking drink it, but he was already drinking. Here's me, I've only had the Four Horsemen, that's all I drank at that point. And the second person drinks it, and he winces, and he ended up spitting out the drink. He couldn't actually swallow it. I thought that was hilarious to watch. And then my roommate that I mentioned, he winced. Okay, so he drank it, he took it, but he winced. And everybody saw that because he couldn't take the reaction in his stomach. And here I drank the rest of it, and they didn't drink a lot of it. I drank the whole thing. What do you think happened? Now, mind, I don't drink, right?
All right.
And I'm young. I'm young.
Say it again so that I can fully paint the picture.
Okay,
And
so this cup is
thought.
still like half full, and I'm the last person out of the four people. Now the third person winced. Now he's an alcoholic. He drinks all the time. So he drank it, but they left half of it was still in the cup. I grabbed it, I drank all of it, and put it down. What do you think happened?
After you drank it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna imagine you probably blacked out shortly thereafter.
Nope. Nothing.
It wasn't that strong?
Nothing. It was super strong. I felt it. I tasted it, but I had that innate ability to ignore pain and reactions. I lost that ability as I aged, obviously, with alcohol. That's something that does happen as the liver deteriorates, but it's one of those weird drinking stories. I'm walking with them back to the ship, and I'm helping one of them actually walk while I'm like that. I was buzzed, extremely buzzed, but I wasn't tripping on myself. I was watching other people trip. So.
Okay.
The only reason for it because I drink a lot. But you understand that because if you don't drink, it's something that your body can take. If your liver is taking it and you're adding, so your liver come from anyway. Good to understand that. Damaging the liver can cause a lot of other complications, like the healing process and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh. And I'm sure, did I tell you about, I probably never told you about it since I never mentioned that roommate to you before.
Whoa.
About us being in England.
No.
Oh, man.
Never even knew you went to England.
Yeah. Okay, so we're in England, and I'm hanging out with him the whole time. Right? We end up in this mom and pop bar in England, right?
Okay.
There's nobody else in there but us. It's like a Thursday. He's like he started a shot challenge. He drinks a shot, I drink a shot. If he drinks a shot, I drink another shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's plenty of versions of shot challenges out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like playing games. Me and you could have we could have literally done every time we die while doing a GM, or wipe during a GM, we take a shot. Type of shit. You're doing drinking games and getting fucked up.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
point is to
So
get
you
pissed.
understand. So we're sitting at a bar, we're doing that. 40 shots.
Between the two of you,
But
between
3
the two
hours.
of you, or 80 total
3
between
hours.
the two of you.
Yeah, that was total. That was 80 shots total.
Oh my fuck! How drunk were you guys?
3 hours in,
Y'all must have been throwing 3.5s or something.
he was fine sitting down. The moment he had to stand up from the stool, he fell on the ground. And I was still standing, and I had to help him up, and I had to carry him back to the ship. I didn't drink, remember? Like, I'm the person not drinking, standing here taking 40 shots over the course of 3 hours. It was gone. Yeah, this ain't affecting me. And I remember all that. And we were, the carrier didn't port there. The carrier was anchored, and he had to ride a boat across the ocean. Right? So here's me holding on to my friend with dear life, hoping he doesn't roll off this boat because there's no railings. It's meant for cargo. It wasn't meant for people. It's the military. You understand how creepy that is.
Yes.
140-pound man. He was probably about 185 at that time. So I was strong enough to hold on to him and pick him up off the ground back then. So you kind of understand that it's crazy how that happens, but it went well. He's still alive, happy on his boat in Georgia. So
That's good.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he ever tried to have a relationship or not. I know the one last time that he tried to have a relationship, somebody he worked with that he served with actually slept with her while he was dating her. It was pretty creepy to hear about. I felt bad for him too because he was a virgin until he was 29. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if that's true, unfortunately. I just know prospectively that's what I knew. Yeah. Pretty wild, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. He had a despise of women because he was taught fire and brimstone. The way he was taught was the wrong way. I can tell you that. It's very sexist. And I caught on to it pretty early on. Obviously, I didn't hold it against him and say anything about it, but I was aware of it.
I mean, I gotta admit, I got my issues. Like, you know, there's definitely every group of people
We
that
all
I
do.
judge.
I have some.
You
Yeah.
know, but I judge white people just as much as I judge every other group of people.
Yeah.
I
I usually
men
judge
just as
people
much
if
as I
they hold
judge
judgments against
women.
me, and then that's where my problem is. It's like everybody does that, so it's not worth the time worrying about what other people are judging me for, and kind of let go.
But for me, the big difference on why I judge all groups equally is because, you know, not that I'm racist or hateful. Granted, I'm a very angry, and I will admit I do have hate in me and malice.
That's something that, like, I have the expression of malice, but I don't think I have an intention of hate.
But
if that makes sense.
for me, I'm like, I've always been an outcast. I've never been given a chance by the vast majority, and
Yeah.
I I know what the human race itself is doing to this planet,
There
doing
you
to the
go.
doing to
That's a good example. I had some hatred in that.
we have
Yeah.
so much shit to say about pro-life shit while killing everything on this planet, including ourselves.
Yeah, and it's happened before, and it'll happen again. God's even predicted that it's
We're
the way humans are.
we're
That's why I kind of accept what's happening. I just kind of just look at it and be like, God kind of already told us that we're going to be that way. So I kind of, oh, okay,
our
that's what they're doing.
everyone talks about how the purpose of why we're here is because we're supposed to be better, we're supposed to rise above, we're here for a purpose,
Wow.
we're supposed to be here for
Yeah.
good, but then all we ever do as a race is bad. We're killing the
Yeah.
trees, we're killing the plants, we're killing all forms of wildlife to the point we are the
We're
reason
harming our
some
children or making it so that other
yep
people can't live without water, stuff like that.
we're
It's just like,
we
it's
ch-
horrendous.
we
I
charge
agree.
people to be able to live. We know you can't live on the land without having to pay something. You don't get to have your own land or
Yeah.
freedoms
And then
truly.
prices of the land
You need
automatically
water.
surpass what's available for others. Yes.
You need water, shelter, and food to
Yeah.
survive. You need to be able to be. You need warmth,
Oh,
and in high
you're
amounts
just
of
talking
heat.
about that part of it. How about social increment? You talk about social increment having the same things as
Well,
other people
my
do
point
naturally, just so you feel like you're part of the world.
my point in
I
stating
honestly have
those
to say that.
things is that
Yeah.
we need those things to survive, but we as a people also are like, "Oh, well, life is so important. You should want people to live. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be out killing people." But then we're restricting the resources people have to be able to survive, to be able to
Yeah.
be fed, to be able to be hydrated and live. We're doing things that are constantly destroying the atmosphere and allowing us to be more at risk of death,
Wow.
to the point
Yeah.
we've caused so much pollution and so much damage. There are miniature black holes in our own atmosphere that someday are predicted to grow so large eventually our own pollution may suck us into a black hole before the sun
Yeah,
can
that's
even
funny.
take us out.
What is that? The Hadron Collider type technology
That
actually
to
has the
me,
ability to
I
do
have a
something like
theory
that, in my
about that.
viewpoint.
I have a
Yeah.
theory about that thing that I feel like is probably the most accurate theory, but I don't have any way to confirm it or run experiments to confirm it. I
I've already went
believe
through the experiments.
every time they run it, what they are doing is actually successfully creating the Big Bang. And the way that that works is instead of ending
Oh,
everything, what they're
yeah.
doing is ending that specific
All
verse
right.
that we're in, and we're being
Yeah.
shifted into another, and we're merging with a parallel copy of ourselves.
That was a Harley joke.
And it's
That was a
caused
Harley joke I
it
made.
it's causing and what it's causing is for all of us to end up having conflicted, confused feelings, thoughts, emotions, and memories, um, which is causing, example, those moments where people are like, wait, but I remember this from this specific time frame, and there was all sorts
And
of
it doesn't
evidence
exist.
proving it
Yes.
existed, and
And
now
you're not
it
alone. That's
doesn't
why I made the Harley
exist
Davidson
at
thing.
all.
Yeah.
And I believe that the reason for all of that is because of is because of that collider, and because
Yeah.
what we're doing is something so
Possible.
unnatural. We're actually
Using the power of the stars in
yes,
ways.
and
And
what
that's
we're doing
so you
is
understand on the biblical side of
so like
what the
example when you're telling me you have a different personality for each individual person you meet.
to an
My
extent.
question to you is how many of them are actually alternate variants of yourself that you didn't
Ew.
even know existed
Or
because of a parallel universe possibly being
oh
merged?
wow, that would be creepy. That would be creepy.
And
That's something might be something that somebody mentioned to me recently, which makes it even creepier. It's not the first time I heard it. You telling me my neighbor is actually possibly me?
no,
Oh
my
wait,
belief
no,
is
that was a
that
joke. I'm sorry.
I was saying I was more along the lines of when we if we are merging with other parallel universes in that way, then it doesn't have room to store that the universe isn't designed to store two copies of us at the same time. So it would force that other variant to then merge in with you and both of your souls become
Oh God,
one
that would be.
while also being separate. Basically, both
Oh,
identities are
acidic.
erased and it creates a new identity.
I get that. All right, good. Ethan represents Mike. I already knew that though. Don't worry, I just got a message on my phone about church. Not anything related.
If we do podcasts at any given point, and you ever want to try and get into like reaction style content where we're looking at stuff on YouTube to get a good source for what we're talking about,
That works.
you may want we may have to start being careful so you know on how we approach
Yeah.
it because of a
Yeah,
situation
because of
going
other
on.
people's content using it.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a situation going on that could completely change content creation based off how it goes. And
Yeah.
basically, H3H3, also known as Ethan Klein, is suing Hassan Mods, Frogan, Denims, Casey Tron, and another guy named Sean the Black. Because what they did was reaction style content to his content nuke video on YouTube, but instead of reacting properly, they were like getting up, walking away, falling asleep on stream, telling people to
Oh
watch
wow.
there instead of on his channel because they don't support him and don't want to give him the views and the money.
Oh good
And
lord.
as a result, they're getting
Yeah, stuff like
copyright
that.
sued.
That. Yeah, that's libel and slander mixed in with it. That's just bad decisions.
Um,
I can say that.
but depending on how, the approach taken, it could completely change TOS on certain platforms around reaction content. So if we were to need to do that at any given point in time, we're just going to want to make sure we're always up to date on TOS until we know if that's going to make a change happen or not, which wouldn't be until the beginning of the year 2026.
Got it.
Because that's usually when TOS changes for at least YouTube happens.
Yeah, gotcha. Oh man, Navy stories. It's where my brain was before that. And bisectors.
I think I'm going to take one of my drives and plug it into her PC to download mods and play Power World on my
Nice thing
laptop.
about Navy time period. I have a draw to that. I don't know if I'm searching for anything. I'm not searching for anything. Obviously, going through the divorce situation is interesting, especially when I found out it was my mistake 14 years ago. Creepy, right?
Yes.
I told you that I met a date that year, right? It's the only date that I've ever had in Pennsylvania. So, and I also found out that when the court case was closed was the same month I made the decision never to date ever again. Until somewhere during Destiny 2, my brain started triggering other problems that I wasn't able to handle. And I realized that I needed help. And in my head, I needed a relationship. And it turned out that it's probably what I needed. It just It wasn't going to happen the right way, obviously. Considering I didn't have a bedroom until the beginning of last year, think about that. I was living in a living room from 2007 until 2023. Pretty wild, right?
Yes.
That is pretty wild. And I was okay with it. I probably wasn't okay with it, but I wasn't really aware of how to change my situation, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is until COVID, my mom used the living room. After COVID, she's primarily resorted to her bedroom and doesn't have a need to be in a living room. So I turned the living room into a bedroom because it was the best answer to my problem. Some of the things that I enjoy in life right now. The fact that I have a bedroom and I have many things that many people would never see in their lives. And I'm glad I did. 3D TV being one of them. I'm not sure how fast that technology ever gets re-released, if at all. It looks like a slow trickle if that happens. And it's sad because my phone actually does 3D on its own. How about that for some fucking weird shit? I'm sure you never heard that before, right?
No, I have not.
'Cause I'm talking about watching 3D videos. My phone actually has the ability to do that. There was a screen protector made back in 2011 that you could calibrate with an app, that the people that made the screen protector made the app. And the app actually plays web content to an extent. And it plays videos. And it doesn't matter if the video is already in 3D. It actually converts 2D into 3D. So this already exists. So I should be able to do the same thing with a TV or a computer or a regular monitor, just having like an overlay screen protector. It's pretty creepy. It creeped me out when I found out about it. And it was cheap. It wasn't like something that was expensive. It's one of those weird things that I imported from Taiwan, I think. Kinda. I don't use it very often. I don't trust the browser. And it doesn't do YouTube, unfortunately. Which totally defeated the whole purpose. I could put a movie on my phone and watch it, however. But I don't watch movies on my phone. It's more for like YouTube or Instagram, and obviously that don't work that way. If you have to use an app to do it and it doesn't browse those sites, you can't do anything with it. Yeah. I'm pretty stoked right now. That's for sure. Oh, I didn't tell you this. Destiny 1. The reason why I played it. Have you heard of the AI super resolution?
No, I have not.
Okay. So it's a NVIDIA software development kit, applet, that somebody made a plugin for OBS, right? That actually will upscale something from HD 1080 up to 4K, or even bigger if your monitor actually can provide it, like 8K. But I was actually able to get that working properly, upscaling with AI rather than using the PS5 upscaler for Destiny 1. It looks a little bit better, and in some ways it looks a lot better. It's kind of interesting. That's why I was doing it, because I was interested in that, getting that to work properly. And I didn't have it working properly the first 2 times I played it. And I caught on to it. So, but unfortunately, it's something that you probably won't see anytime soon, because the video card requirements require hefty video cards to do it. So I guess that purchase actually ran into that, and I thought it was funny. For me to play Doom, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I found out once I got Doom, I probably would not have needed to upgrade at all. I thought that was funny. I found the benefit of it when I started playing other games, however. And I don't mean like games like Doom. Like Far Cry. When I was playing Far Cry, the video card definitely helped me out with the 3D. What was the other? Oh, Marvel Avengers was the other one. I went there, I found out the heftier video card actually plays that game better than the older one. I could just tell that game took a lot of resources. It's probably why it was taken off the market. It didn't sell well because it required good hardware. Just like Indiana Jones is flopping when it's a good game, but nobody has the hardware to play it. Doom. Doom, you know what they did? They lied about their system requirements.
Did they?
Yeah, they did. They didn't need... You don't need the hardware that they're recommending. If that makes sense.
It can be ran on lower.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get the same quality on lower. That's what I found out. Until they put ray tracing into it, but the ray tracing is the only thing that requires the better video card. So the system requirements weren't exactly lies, but they didn't have the technology in the game that causes it to need that. So technically it was a lie when it was released. And I beat it already, so I don't need to play it again. Yeah. At least not until they put the expansion out. Which will be short-lived for me. I'll probably beat it in less than 7 hours. But there's not a lot of first-person shooter fights. You still there?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am.
Did you know that?
Honestly, no. That's why I'm kind of silent about it. I'm like, it's something I don't know so I can't really add a whole lot of input to it.
Yeah. Because when I started looking at like all the first-person shooters that are popular and across the board, the majority of them do not have boss fights. I thought it was interesting because that explained my draw to the games that had boss fights. It kind of made me realize why I play certain first-person shooters that other people don't. And the reason for it. Because even in Doom 1 and 2, there's like one boss fight. Maybe 2, depending how you look at it. But when you get to like Doom 3, it has a bunch of boss fights. It's just like it turns into boss fights. Halo was boss fights. And that's debatable. depending on what part of Halo we're talking about. But then you look at all the other games like Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, there's not really boss fights. There might be difficult sections or difficult missions, but there's no like boss fight. Borderlands had boss fights. What's your opinion of Borderlands, by the way?
So, me and you are different when it comes to this, and I know that, but I allow certain things to interfere with my judgment of a game. Like like if something political is being pushed down my
Oh yeah,
throat
yeah. I get that.
and shit like
I had that
that.
problem with Doom Eternal.
Borderlands is made by a dev team that is very pro woke, and they've
Okay.
started adding it to their games more.
And your definition of woke is?
Okay, if I were to put it in my terms,
Yeah, because I honestly don't use that word I don't use it.
when I think of a woke person, I think of somebody who's very clearly liberal,
Okay.
or at the very least, democratic, but close to a liberal.
I'm just gonna.
When I say democratic but close to
No
a
idea.
liberal, not every Democrat is going to be included. It is just the Democrats that aren't like one-to-one with Democrat. It's more like they're
Yeah, because my definition
a
of woke
liberal
would be entirely
leaning
different. That's
Democrat
why.
is kind of like what it is, what I view it as. So when I say that as well, these people usually have the viewpoint of, well, if you're anti-LGBTQ+, you have no empathy, you have no sympathy, I'm gonna log into Twitter, and I'm gonna morality police you and cancel culture you online, because I'm an overly sensitive, entitled pussy that my parents put an iPad in front of to raise me.
Yep.
And you're
I get
judging
that.
me because of that, and so
Yeah.
on, and you're a mean-spirited person type shit.
And hell, my rebuttal to them is not your
And
life to live. Their
those
life is not
same-
mine to live. They make their decisions on their own.
Those same people are the same types of people who look at you and who look at people like me who were angry at Assassin's Creed Shadows for claiming it was going to be historically accurate to Japan, but then went out of their way to make Yasuke a samurai when he's just a retainer and never had confirmation in our history to be a samurai in
Oh,
any
yeah?
capacity.
That's craziness. That's
He was a
craziness.
slave that was granted an honorary title of retainer by one of the leaders of Japan back in that era. I forget his name, but the reason he liked Yasuke so much was because of how different his skin color was to the rest of the Japanese. So he had
Oh, yeah?
he had requested of the owner of Yasuke if he could hold on to him and use him as a messenger, which he was already there on messenger work. So he granted him the honorary title of retainer based off of his skin color, but he was really there for messenger work. Whereas Assassin's Creed Shadows was like, yeah, it's going to be historically accurate. Yasuke's a samurai that every time you're in combat, you hear hip-hop music, and you can go and desecrate Japanese religious sites, too.
Oh, wow. That's pretty wild.
It was
I don't like Assassin's
It
Creed
was so
to begin
bad
with. So.
that the Japanese, their higher up officials actually had to discuss it and whether or not it was problematic to their history because of how serious they take their history. But if we mention any of those facts, then those same quote-unquote woke people will call you a racist.
Yeah.
That's what I define as woke. That group of people.
That makes sense.
That psychotic, overly insane
Woke definition to me, it was probably something that came from before it became what it is now.
Another good example is people who go out of their way to constantly call people Hitler or Nazis.
Oh, jeez.
but then
Yeah, that's old
contradict
school.
themselves
Or gay.
by calling for murder of people they disagree with, or just socially outcasting them and so on, because that in and of itself is acting like a Nazi, because they're sitting there and being like, oh well, you have opinions that are different than mine, you're wrong, you deserve to be killed for it, kind of
Oh,
mentalities. And that is very Nazi like of them to think, while calling people like me Nazis for no reason other than we have a different opinion. Like supporting Trump, for example, it supposedly automatically makes you a Nazi, according to liberals who are for Kamala Harris and
yeah,
Biden.
yeah.
But then they're sitting there calling for death to all MAGA.
Heh, that's funny. They don't make themselves any better than
They're
anyone else
they're
acting the
also
way they
as.
do anyway.
Do you remember when the pro-Palestine stuff was going on, and there were all sorts of
Kind of,
protests about it?
kind of. It's happened several times in my lifetime, if I
If you
remember
look at the
correctly.
schools and look at the
Yeah.
colleges and look at all the people protesting and not attending their classes as a result of it, I also define people like that as woke,
I can
because
see that.
they're being so entitled that they're wasting the money their parents spent for them to get an education and make good careers for themselves to be able to live outside of
Yeah.
poverty,
Well, in
and
some
they're
ways,
throwing it
I
away for
I have a
something they
weird
can't
rebuttal in that.
control.
That's funny. This is funny. So they think it's a good cause, and people talked a lot of good talk, and they all did it as a community, right? So when a community comes in and joins, you have that feeling that you're joining in with the community. Some of them are seeking that at the same time. It kind of is a weird situation.
Understandable.
It's kind of where it's kind of like when I was younger, even though I'm not no better than other people, the way I say it based off of the type of person I am. I used to say sex is not a fad, it's not to be worn as a clothing.
Okay.
Like I used to say that in high school in reaction to people that were sleeping around or having orgies and shit like that, just so you understand who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or people that were openly gay and trying to interact with you that way, being another one. Like trying to make you a part of that. Which you probably didn't experience things like that. I hope you didn't.
Uh.
You might have.
When you say experience it, what do you mean?
People trying to force you to be a part of things like that.
Like orgies and shit?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, I've had people try and peer pressure me into it.
Okay. So you have experienced that.
But it wasn't anything where it's like, and I've also had people try to guilt trip me into it.
Yeah. I made my statements long and early and clear because I knew what was happening without knowing it. It was self protection
And
for the most part.
a good example is Brianna, that old group, Saturn. Um, those girls would actually go to orgies,
Oh,
and
God.
they would
I'm
inquire
aware
with
of that.
people in their server about their
Yeah,
sex
wow.
lives and shit like that.
Yeah. That's probably why they couldn't handle me.
Yeah, and
There's nothing for them to play on.
exactly.
They don't know what they're playing with at that point.
And they were very like, oh well, there's nothing wrong with it, you know, and then they'd go into belittling you if you were still against it and didn't like cave.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
their real reaction there had to do with her choice to go to another country to get an abortion, and her not wanting to deal with her stomach issue that was there for 5 days
she went to
and
get an
go to a
abortion
doctor.
there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, they ended up getting rid of me when I was mentioning about her having to go to a doctor after 5 days of having a stomach issue. But they
Oh.
left the country because I was like, you're willing to go to a doctor for abortion, but you're not willing to go to a doctor for your stomach issue? I
Mm,
didn't understand that. I literally looked at it and was like, "They sound like a retard."
eh, definitely, because
Yeah,
because if you're against doctors, why wouldn't you just stick a coat hanger up there?
you understand that. You understand exactly why I didn't freak out and yell at them. I kind of like was like, "You don't make any sense," and I was still like recommend that you see a doctor, and they all got upset about that. And after a while, they just took offense to what I was saying. That's what started all that.
Yeah, but this same group of people is this.
Yeah.
It has this girl Amy in it who was very like, oh yeah, I'm a very angry a lesbian, and
It sounds like a
she's
false
very
identity.
she's very misandrist kind of
It
mentality.
sounds like a false identity to me, and I'm just like, all right,
Those
whatever.
types always are. But then, right, she's talking about how she goes to orgies and she has sex
Yeah,
with men and
yeah, there
women
you
at
go.
these
That doesn't make any sense.
orgies. And
Yeah, it is
somebody
a false
pointed
identity.
out, if you're enjoying having sex with these men at these orgies, you're not a
And yeah, I
lesbian.
get that.
You're a
You're
bisexual
bisexual,
because you're
which literally is
choosing to have
just
sex
heterosexual
with
with the interest
men
of women mixed
and
in.
you're enjoying it, and that's why you're choosing to do it when you could just let your girl put a strap on and go to town.
Yeah. Or
You're
if that's all you choose and
and
you
then
don't
you're
have sex very often, and that's the type of life that you want to live because you don't want to feel like you're forced into something you don't want to be a part of.
and she tried to argue
Yeah.
that that it is a different experience when it's the real thing and a toy, especially because
Yeah. I've
it's a
met a lot
different
of different. I've actually
experience.
met lesbians that are not supporters of LGBT, by the way.
I have two.
All right. So we're
I'm
not alone on
so
that.
you know I'm a bisexual man. You know I
I get
swing
that.
both ways.
You're in an age group that's being bombarded by sexuality at too early of ages for there to be any sensibility of what you learn.
Exactly.
Because everybody else around you is
And
learning the same shit or worse shit, and it just causes a lot of confusion.
I'm against the LGBT movement.
Me, I'm personally just like in my own religious sphere. It's stuff that exists. God allows people to make those decisions, and it's there for a reason. But I don't need to know why.
For me, I'm against
Yeah,
it because of how they act, the way they're in the movement itself, and the activists for it are the definition of woke I gave you.
yeah.
And it's
And
not
I
something I
decided
can
that it's more
support.
so people in this country like to rebel, and at some point they ran out of media to rebel with, and they just turned to sexuality.
A big reason, two more big reasons why I can't support it is one, they the name is so long now, you don't ever know what it actually is because it's
Yeah.
changing so always.
Yeah, you got the A in there, and apparently
It's
a lot
like
of people would say that I'm that, and I
it's
just after a
even
while realized, no, I'm
it's
not
even
that.
longer than that now. It's
Yeah.
not just LGBTQIA plus anymore. It's like
Hmm.
a whole other strew of letters, and now there's even numbers in it.
Hmm. Blue PC
Uh,
RT D279.
and,
Just like make
right.
shit up, and it would be that literally. That's how bad
And
it's
I'm
gotten.
sitting here and I'm like, they're calling it genders, and I'm like, no, it's a fucking sexuality. And if we're being
Yeah.
real, this whole thing is based off of
You can
fetish
always
culture.
choose to change what you are by will.
hmm And
So
the whole
you can't
thing's
say that you're
based
one thing if you choose later.
and the whole thing's based on fetish culture too. And they constantly are like, no, 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 it's not fetish culture. But the thing you always see out of these people is kink related shit. Look at the
What?
look at the pride parades, for
you,
example.
you should see like my world of my universe
Uh,
and people that I run into. Sex is not a topic that's supposed to be discussed at all.
Well, you
like, like
also,
that's their morals.
if you look
And
into
that's-
the Pride Parade and stay up to date on it, every year during the Pride parades, somewhere inside of America, it's these same key things are happening. Furries dressed up half naked in
so you
kink gear
understand.
with
So you
people
understand.
who are with other people who are completely stripping clothes off of their bodies and being nudists in these parades, and there are children watching these
Yes,
parades.
yes,
That's
yes, yes.
pedophilia. It's
It
predatory.
is. It's
And if you look
gross.
into the history of trans ideology, the person who invented the
Yes, you're
trans
right about this.
ideology is a fucking pedophile.
Yes, you're right about that.
And it's
That's
no
why it's funny.
coincidence that the majority of trans people who come out of the fucking woodworks end up being pedophiles.
Or screwed up.
Oh no, no, no! Like there's no or
I've,
screwed up.
I've
It's
met
just a
people that are
given
really screwed
that
up.
they're screwed up. We
Yeah.
know they're screwed up. But
So the interesting thing that I had to say there, I got to remember what it was because it actually is pertinent.
okay.
Take a pretty breath. What was it? Oh, the area I live in. From my what I've gathered, the majority of people here, right? The way the moral goes, if you talk about sex or the insinuation of it in any shape, way, or form, you will not get it. It's like the rules of like the social masses around here.
Okay.
You can imagine how weird that is.
Easily. Pretty easily.
And so if you talk about it, you know what they label you as?
What?
A part of that.
Really?
Yes, this is why it's so fucking broken for me to live in an area that's built on the baby boomers generation and what they believed in. Because I'm somebody that's already gone out to the sea and been in other countries, and talking about it is natural when you're in areas like that. But if you were to talk about it outside of like male to male jokes or something that's seen as okay, insinuations of it or anything else is seen as harassment. So when you approach somebody, you cannot make it that that's your intention. Well, even if you were not to speak about it either. You won't ever get it if you speak about it. Now, I'm only living life from my eyes, so that might not be true. But that's the way it's been for me. Because the one time that I got something, even though I didn't want it, kind of played out that that person asked me for it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can see why it's kind of fucked up if I'm going out there trying to hit on people when I've been single for 20 years. They automatically take that as an insinuation of sex, especially if I start detailing the fact that I haven't been with anyone. And that's why me talking about that sounded desperate to everybody. But that's not the only thing I was desperate for. I was desperate for friends and people to hang out with and people to talk to, other than the Destiny crowd, obviously, because I need real in-person life outside of that, on top of real life. And my mom being here is not the source of my problems, obviously.
Right.
Even though the evil one likes to always spawn that. I probably never mentioned this to you, but there's a pile of like negative thoughts that like try to drive it so that I'm blaming my mom and I'm listening to that shit knowing that it's coming not from me, if that makes sense. That's something that I've learned to live with and deal with. I laugh at it now. That was heavy. But you can see what I mean is like in this area being the quiet old school culture with Amish people mixed in and Mennonites and religious people, the way they view life.
Right.
People that are into fornication are sinners that go to hell. So if you were to talk about it, they see you as that and they try to judge you based off of scripture. So their decision is to avoid you. Some of that plays into my neighbors, but it still plays into everybody else. Because anybody that's been in direct correlation with me dealing with that or talking about it, that's the way they took it. Even if I wasn't approaching them, we're just talking about like coworkers and shit. We're not talking about. Now, some of them were mature enough conversations because they were older and they were, knowledgeable enough to be able to hold the conversation. But there are people that I've run into that can't even deal with it. They tell me, "Don't talk about that. I can't deal with it." Pretty crazy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about stuff that I learned in third grade. It's kind of weird for me because I'm like, that's where my definition of woke was. My definition of woke was somebody that was more worldly and understood how the world is and understood that some things in this country are kept quiet and people don't learn those things just to keep a happy sense of peace, which is what is intended for the peace that they want. And that's what they fight for. Which I think it's interesting because that explains the difference between Democrats and Republicans when it comes down to it, because Republicans are really the ones that fight for that old traditional belief system. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you.
It does.
Yeah. It's weird though, because where we're at now in life, I kind of realize that I'm looking at things with an aged mind, but I'm actually young. Most of the people that hold conversations with me are usually over the age of 60. Like decent conversations. Some people are in my age group and some are younger. The ones that are younger, they ask me a lot of fucking questions. And they like learning things. Usually about the body and how the body operates. Stuff like that. And dietary being another one. Do you have corn syrup in the house?
I don't believe so.
It's
Why?
one of those things that I found out about, and I started getting more detailed research on it just so I could understand it better. It's something that humans didn't make until the 50s, 1950s. They put it in the foods in the 70s, and it quite literally tells your liver to produce triglyceride fats, which are hard to digest to begin with. And it also tells your muscles not to develop properly by doing so. And then it also clogs the arteries. And it causes diabetes because of all those changes. That shit is in soda, primarily. Rockstar, Monster. You probably do drink it. If you drink Monster still, you definitely do drink it. So
I do from time to
Yeah.
time, but not
Yeah.
often now that I've got
That's
G Fuel
dangerous.
again.
Yeah. Now, coming from a smoker, it's funny because the way I say it to people now is smoking is just as dangerous as eating high fructose corn syrup. You're going to end up either dying of lung cancer at the same length of smoking as somebody else eating that and getting heart disease. Pretty crazy, right?
Yes.
They put it in the foods. Other countries are trying to ban it. This country is like the main producer of it. And when I found out how they made it, I about freaked. It was like, okay, so you take cornstarch, put it in a spoon, heat it up till it turns into a liquid. You evaporate off the liquid and then reboil the leftover powder, and it turns into a sticky substance that kind of looks like snot, like gross. It's gross. And it's supposed to replace what you consider sugar inside water, which obviously sugar inside water is not something that looks like snot. So I kind of gathered that, and I was like, you make cocaine into crack the same way. I thought that was a little weird. Kind of creeped me out. That's one of my pet peeves. I'm sure I've mentioned it before. That's one of my political pet peeves. They kind of don't do anything about it and just leave the major diet to be soda and French fries and ice cream. And ice cream is made out of corn syrup as well. Most of them are, anyway. I found that out recently about frites. Ice cream in my fridge. Yeah, how long do you think my ice cream was in the freezer for? Before I threw it out. It was in there for over a year and a half.
Oh my god. That would not have been my guess either.
It was in there for a long time. It was still good too, which is the worst part. Like I have to throw it away as corn syrup, and then I'm going to buy simply natural ice cream because I'm not dealing with it. For me, it sucks because like I took it out of my diet for like the past 10 years. I've been progressively removing it and like finding all the things that were in my diet that had it. And where I'm at now, if I intake it, I freak out. I get really anxious and hyperactive real quick. And then I have a crash after that. Like I don't want to be alive type crash, not like the I'm tired crash. It's a bad crash. It's a psychological crash. It's not a good one. It's something I don't want in my diet. I realized that mankind has progressively made their food supply worse and actually started putting poisons inside the foods, which we all know that there are poisons out there, but that one there is primarily the major reason why my parents are obese and have diabetes. And diabetes is the leading cause of erectile dysfunction in Americans to begin with. So I kind of looked at it and I was like, your food is poisoning the society and you want them to flourish. I'm pretty sure if you fix that problem, we'll at least get that solved. You can see how they're not fixing the problems and they still want to do something. That's why I don't get involved in the political nature. I have pet peeves against them that I basically like to scream and yell at them, but what does that accomplish? It doesn't do anything. I know you know that. Like ranting about it online or challenging people about it online does not help either. I found out it was an addictive substance. On top of that, it's something that if you drink it or eat it, you're going to want more of it. So it causes an addictive problem. And you battling addictions in your mind with multiple addictions, you know what I mean by that. You add that to the list, it just can cause a toppling issue. Yeah. And I found out that's the reason why if I talk to people about it that intake it, they don't care and they ignore it. Because the addiction tells them to ignore it. Now, I know you've experienced that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've experienced that a lot in my life, and I know we all do. So it's just one of those things. It's like, choose your poisons wisely. It's kind of a book I would want to write for a fucking 7-year-old. Somebody being born to this world. Here's a book you should read. The stuff the Bible couldn't cover because it would have been too hard to explain, I guess. That's the only thing that I look at in the world that's interesting is like this world's never supposed to be destroyed by water again. And if it had, it would cause complications for religion, or at least for Christianity. It's one thing I noted. Because it's stated that it'll never be destroyed by water again. Did you know that?
Nope.
No. There. Yeah. It's an interesting statement because if it ever does get destroyed by water, there'll be a pile of Christians that think their God doesn't exist. Especially with the way the world is. It's one of those weird things. It's just knowing some things that probably won't happen, just based off of faith in general. Did you ever see Event Horizon? You did not.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm staying up, by the way. Not too late, but I'm staying up a little bit. Yeah, I left vacation floating, so like if they offered me to leave early, I can use vacation tomorrow. I doubt it's going to happen unless they were working for that. I don't know if they were. I couldn't tell. I stopped paying attention to things at work. I told somebody else, it's like, yeah, with the classified confidentiality agreements, working at a building like that, that's world economic power for what it does. I basically started not paying attention to the shit. Just kind of do my job and not really care what was going on. Weird decision I had to make too. Yeah, Edge of Fate, I estimate probably about 3 weekends of content. Unless they trickle it out. I'm talking about like base story and activities to farm. It's probably a good estimate too. They're doing episodes still, right?
In what?
Oh, the Edge of Fate. Is it still episode based?
No.
No, it's not.
They're reverting
Alright.
back to 2 DLC a year. You're getting, quite literally, Edge of Fate
The whole
is
content.
all you get.
And if it's trickle release, it might be 6 to 8 weeks. That's not too bad.
Edge of Fate's all we're gonna get, and then 6 months later we're supposed to get the Star Wars themed Renegades.
Oh, 6 weeks. That's it.
No,
Damn.
I'm sorry, 6 months.
Like 6 months. It's 6 months. All right.
And then 6 months after that, we're supposed to get the New Year content, which is going to be original content from Bungie. 6 months after that, we'll probably get another crossover style DLC, like the Star Wars themed one.
Like Pitch Black.
It's
I wish
plausible
they would do that.
they do something like Borderlands next,
Oh, God.
because we've
You
already
know what?
got
You see me quit because
confirmation.
whatever they do is a second. Don't be surprised.
Well,
If they pick something that's completely ridiculous and
the
I don't
reason
like
I
it, I'm
say
probably
that
just be
is
like, oh,
because
God.
Borderlands already exists in the same verse.
Yeah, in some ways it does. You're right about that. So
No, it's 1-to-1 there.
yeah.
Back
Oh,
on
yeah.
Titan, there was a scannable that you could
Oh,
click,
yeah.
and it talked about
Damn, I
one of
didn't
the
know that.
Borderlands planets.
Oh, wow. That makes sense then. That's wild. I could see them crossing that over then. Did not know that, by the way.
Yeah, it was hidden in a box. It was one of the. It
Yeah,
was,
I probably
really
knew
easy
about it,
one
but
to
I probably
find.
didn't know what it was.
You probably didn't recognize it as a reference. That's
Yeah.
probably what it was.
No, because I didn't play Borderlands. That's kind of what's funny there. Yeah, Borderlands 4 is not on my list. I was playing Borderlands 1, but I'm playing in 3D, and that's for an entirely different aspect. I stopped at the first map, and I lose interest there for some reason. Probably because of coding. You know what I mean by that, I hope.
Like
Like empathic coding.
I was gonna say the way you're like programmed.
No, empathic coding, like knowing what emotions and thoughts were used when they made it, and me reacting to that instead. Like if I don't like the type of people coding a game, I've noticed missions and stuff like I don't enjoy or they frustrate me. Good example of that, not because it's frustrating. Um, the Europa strike.
Okay.
Good example of that. Because I think something when they were coding that, somebody put something in there emotionally that I react to. I noticed it. I don't know who, what, why. It could be a voice actor, it could be something else, but it's just something I noticed. Doom went pretty well as far as that goes. I've run into issues in Doom, but not like that. It's something that I noticed about Destiny. I run into that every so often. Fickrel was one of them, by the way.
Still shouldn't have killed him off.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Fickrel was one of the triggers. I don't know why. Just caught on to it. It's kind of like reading a book and knowing what the writer was thinking when they were writing it, instead of like being able to sense somebody's hidden intentions while you're reading something, or understanding what they understand while they're explaining it to you as they understood it, rather than making your own conclusions. Just something that I have and it's both a gift and a misfortune. And I don't always have the ability to focus on it. It's just something that I naturally do in the background whenever I'm playing games like this. I think that's why I don't like Far Cry. Because Far Cry is gross. Have you ever played Far Cry?
I did a little long ass time ago on like 360
Okay.
days. I was super young,
Yeah.
wouldn't really
Because the
remember that
story
well.
just doesn't jive with me a whole lot. Being as negative as it is. Because your friends are getting captured for slavery in the Far Cry 3. And Far Cry 4 is just really out there. Yeah.
Alright, let's see if the game runs now.
Oh, something I actually wanted to say to somebody the other day. You'll find this interesting. So the festival I was going to most years since I probably 2008 or something like that. So the tickets this year were interesting, and I'll run this by you. So say the ticket is one ticket. I'm going to charge you $130 for it, right?
Okay.
Not too bad. Maybe one day, whatever. Don't matter what it's for. I'm going to charge you $160 for 2 tickets for the same thing. I'm going to charge you $200 for 4 tickets for the same thing. You're starting to see the trend there, right?
Yeah.
So they don't want people showing up that are financially deficit, but they want people to be there as groups of people rather than people showing up solitary. That's like the whole purpose behind it. Try to inspire you to invite other people along or buy tickets for them or share the cost. I thought it was awkward when I saw it, being the solitary person that normally doesn't offer tickets. Something I might do next year, though. this year's off the books just because of my situation.
Next year I might be going. Next year I gotta save up to go to Massachusetts because she wants to go on a vacation there.
Yeah.
There's something she wanted to go see out there or some shit. Place she wanted to visit.
No, I'm gonna get going.
Okay. You enjoy the rest of your night.
Yep.
I'll be logging in again on Thursday to try
Thursday.
and play Destiny.
All right.
Later.
I'll be around. Later.